measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Sven P, Curved Fart, Pablo de la Cruz, Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, Survive the Spin, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Tiers Morgan, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, J Mel's 24, Unimento, Iron 26, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Cat, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon are below this video. But with that, I will hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
I'm good. Oh, I could see you for a moment. What happened? Apparently we're supposed to be having a heat wave, but it's bloody freezing today.
Crazy. I hope for the cold days because the AC in my car ain't working. So I'm like, please don't be hot today.
No, and my days are totally the other way around. Please don't be cold today.
I don't know if I got spoiled or I'm just used to it, but without AC, I feel like I'm going to scream in the car. Windows open, and if I stop for one light, I'm like, this is crazy.
What you want to do is get a soft top, put the top down, and then drive as fast as you can. Don't stop for the lights.
Sounds good.
You what, Neil?
I said I only see one guy in Discord, Rectifier. So I'm like, what is going on these days? And then I realized we're all alone, Nathan.
Okay.
I got caught up. I got caught up in a little back and forth with a supposed flat earther. Oh gosh, it's like I don't get it. Not the ground. Elevation angles are bad arguments. Flat earthers look stupid saying this. And no matter how much you say correct, it's not an argument, it's just a measurement. No, it's not. Nobody's measuring Earth. If I take an elevation angle from my yard, and then I could take it off the slope of a hill, okay, let's talk about that slope of a hill.
Why would you be taking?
What is that? Where do you get that slope from?
Why would you be on a hill, taking an elevation angle? Did you lose your way whilst on the land? I mean, don't get me wrong. There are certain circumstances where you might want to use celestial navigation because you're inland and you're so lost in the middle of some desert or something. I can understand there being a certain circumstance where someone says, no, this is perfectly reasonable to use the almanac because I've gotten lost. Okay, but it's always set in some implausible scenario, like a hill, or like a landmark that's commonly defined and probably got a name. That sort of hill. You know what I mean? All right. Do you not know the name of the hill? Maybe you can find a house nearby and just ask them where you are. No, you've got to get your sextant out. Okay. Well, you're still going to be measuring with respect to a horizontal plane of surface. You're acquiring GP points below stars. So, what? Not the ground when you're measuring for ground position? You're like, what are these people on? I don't get it. I've only just woken up, so I don't care. I had a lovely snooze.
Yeah, got caught up the whole weekend with it. It's actually people went over to their server once before, Jenna. And there's this guy Berserker over there. So me and One Deck were having a little fun. And it lasted the whole weekend, like they wouldn't stop. So what are you going to do? But I come to the conclusion that we're all alone. They ain't getting it. People just want to argue.
Yeah, maybe. The only way you can argue is by whistling past the flat earth prerequisites in measurements to utilize them to create a sphere, to flex your intellectual prowess by showing how it's not working correctly. But that does fundamentally require both sides utilize and then simultaneously ignore flat earth measurements. So it doesn't surprise me that people on our own perceived to be flat earth side go, that's not a good argument. Like, well, no, what you mean is you don't get an opportunity to get to your fart sniffing knowledge of distance to geometric horizon, or how we see too far, or the fact that you can show we're not spinning, non-positive claim affirmation, whatever it is that they've got in their bonnet as their little bee that buzzes around their head as a flat earth proof that's actually a globe debunking. Most, if not all, of what we currently say ends the argument immediately. So, having learned various different arguments, we come along and go, stop, that distance is flat. If you want to use it, it's a measurement of a flat earth. That's not a measurement, no one's measured it. Okay, you're using it. Yeah. Doesn't mean Earth's measured flat. Anyway, so you've got these miles, right? What are you doing? I never thought flat earthers would be between the rock and the hard place, but they are, because they want to flex their intellectual muscles, don't they?
Yep, and he gives me this thing, and it's like a globe-like thing. It's talking about tangents, and I'm reading it, and he's like passing up all the flat earth. He says, the elevation angle of a star is measured from your local horizontal line, not from the surface of the earth itself. So at your eye, one ray goes horizontally toward the horizon, the other ray goes toward the star. And
towards the horizon. So towards Scotch mist. What's the horizon? It's formed with the ground. These people want to say it's got nothing to do with the ground. Meanwhile, we line it up with the horizon, the point where the ground appears to meet the sky. People are idiots.
It says the horizontal baseline is tangent to Earth at your location. This is what this guy sent me, and he's a flat earther.
Tangent to Earth? What? No. The tangent's inferred mathematically by ball believers after they take eye level for a dip angle to surface level, which they've measured their height off. Then you can infer a calculation to a tangent point below the surface level. But that's after you've measured Earth flat for distance, height, and accepted parallel eye level. I mean, I don't know. I don't care. This person, why do you care? if they're a flat earther and they're telling you that there's a tangent point horizon, they're either so stupid that they don't realise they're asserting as a flat earther after whistling past 3 flat earth measurements that there's a tangent point horizon that is simultaneously, from what I'm hearing, not the ground. So it's not the ground when you line up a sextant and measure a 90-degree ground position, but it is the ground when it's tangential after derivation from flat earth surface level and eye level with an altitude measured perpendicular to sea level. Then it's the ground and it's tangential. No, that's a orthographic calculation. What are you babbling about?
Yeah. So it said the baseline is essentially your personal horizon. And then I just seen this. He goes, then shove this in Nathan's ass. So they think that this
What is
freaking
anything
baller.
Hold on, I'm a bit confused. We've gone from geometric horizons and parallel eye levels to shoving things in Nathan's rectum. This is very non sequitur.
And the funny thing is, he's telling me to stop ad-homing, and then he says, answer the question. Oh, F you effing retard. Adjust the definition and the logic. So there it is. We're talking about measurements, elevation angles, and they want to turn it into logic. And that's the problem. Yep. They want to be the fart sniffers.
Didn't want to turn it into a logic. He wanted to stuff it up my bum.
Yeah, that too, because they know what's being said here. So I told them, I said, please don't delete this. I know you're going to block me. Don't delete this. This is priceless. You're going to be the star of the show tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting into more advanced trickery in terms of what we're exposing currently. You know, the convolution between what's on screen now when you describe the horizon for directionality in azimuth, in degrees with north, south, east and west, and then altitude for the elevation angle measurement with one of the lines being respect to that surface level with the horizon with its azimuth, so that you can describe the angle to the star. Now, what's diagrammatically represented shits in the face of stupid idiots that tell you that you're not measuring the surface level when it's clearly diagrammatically labelled and axiomatically required to have a ground position. But it's not the ground, it's tangent. You're like, no, it isn't. These people don't know what they are talking about. Now, that's unfortunate for them, but not consequential to Earth and its surface level measurements to derive tangent point horizons. You still need a flat surface level. You still need a parallel eye level. You're still going to make a dip angle measurement from the eye level parallel with the surface level after measuring your height from sea level. Those things are fundamentally required. Now, if you want to tell me they're wrong, I don't care. I'm not doing any of this stuff. I'm not measuring my height off surface level just to infer that there's a point boats fall over in the distance. That's not useful for anything. But you, as a flat earther, want to decry these measurements? They're the measurements that expanded the known world. Do you want to deny them? Feel free. I don't care. What difference does it make? You're not the arbiter of these things. Just a fat-sniffing flat earther by the sounds of things.
Yeah, he's saying, just measure flat. Nobody's measuring anything. If I hold the ballers, they don't measure curve. I hold them to that. So I got to hold myself to the same standard. But I found a definition. It said, the solar elevation angle or solar altitude is the vertical angle between the sun's rays and the horizontal plane of the Earth's surface. Now, how are you going to argue with that?
You're not. Because that's what it is. What do you mean argue? It's not an argument. That's the description of a measurement. It's describing what is measured. It's not saying logically, blah, blah. It's saying this is what the measurement is, isn't it? That's what you're defining. A measurement with respect to Earth's surface in the vertical. That's what an elevation angle is. People hear elevation angle and say it's not the surface. All right, what does elevation mean exactly? It's like, are you stupid? Do you not realise that specifically means from the surface? When you say elevation. What, from the middle of nowhere to some other point that's random? No, it's from the surface. That's why it's called an elevation angle. Meaning it's from the ground. My God, people are so dumb.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with the
Yeah,
ground.
they're
Why
so
is it called elevation angle then? Not that it matters. You're a bonehead. You don't have any arbitration in this particular discussion because it's not up for discussion. We're just telling you how it's measured.
Yep. They're not ready. So that's why I said I come to the conclusion that we're all alone. I started out, I tried to explain it to them. I said, no. Listen, Earth is measured. People have measured it. Alberuni, Eratosthenes, people that freaking measure elevation angles, people that have mapped the world. So it has been measured.
Here's
But, they don't want to hear it.
Well, this is what he was asserting, or she was asserting. So there's a tangent horizon. What, this line between B and S? It's BS, that is. You need surface level and eye level. And H. What's H? Oh, your height off surface level, perpendicular to a plane of reference. Okay, so you need to measure Earth flat 3 different ways and then derive a calculation that absolutely axiomatically requires surface level and eye level be parallel for the mathematics to function at all. But we don't have a surface level. We're not measuring the surface. No, we're not for this. This is what you, if you're a bull believer, require to be true, to infer there's a point below the surface level called Earth curve. You must first measure your height off surface level. You must have a surface level, and eye level must be parallel to surface level. So we've got a surface level then, and we are measuring it, yes. And that's the end of this discussion. We've measured surface level. End of discussion. No, I want to ignore how level the surface is that we've measured so I can infer there's a point below it I call Earth curve. It's only possible to describe when I turn the view sideways and exclude all perspective and then suggest that the surface is violated because the point below it is what I'm describing mathematically. But I will do that and ignore how flat we just measured Earth to achieve it, to suggest that the only thing that exists is the tangent. No, the tangent only exists in the maths. The surface level and eye level and altitude get measured.
Yep. Even when they say line of sight. Okay. Line of sight. In reference to what? Just floating in the air? Like you have to have you have to be standing somewhere, looking somewhere to have a line of sight.
Yeah, it's fundamental to any predisposition to a Narnia-like world of sphericity that's extrapolated from those axioms of flat Earth measurement prerequisite. You need the flat Earth axioms to be measured before you can make the calculation. I don't really get it. It was perfectly acceptable for anti-flat Earth opponents to utilize flat Earth measurements to infer sphericity. That was fine. When we say, now we'll just stop at the flat Earth measurements, people go, we're not measuring Earth. Like, we were using the same exact distance, the same exact height off sea level, the same exact miles on maps, with the same exact scales, when you were using it to infer a calculation to a geometric horizon. Then it was okay to use all those flat Earth measurements, but now when we just stop after measuring them, it's not okay. Yeah, because stopping after measuring flat Earth, which everybody does, means there's no argument anymore. So these fart sniffers, in this case a flat Earth, are telling you nobody's measuring Earth. Well, then the argument stops the moment you do. So let's see how long it takes you to measure Earth. Well, we look at the horizon. Stop! That didn't take long.
That's what it is, Nathan. You hit it right in the head. And I realized that as I was going back and forth with him and answer the logic. I'm like, logic, that's what it is. This guy wants to argue. He wants to be the man. And this is too easy. If he brings that out, there is no argument. It's game over. Everybody go home. So he wants it to be logical.
Yeah, if you can suggest that it's rooted in logic, then you can start employing logical fallacy without anybody noticing. We need to reason the world's measurements and ignore the actual measurements. Therefore, I can now employ fallacious reasoning. I can automatically assume sphericity.
What was that whole book that Surf Daddy put up in the
It's not a
chat?
book. That was just
Instead,
his.
we're going to go over it.
No, that was just him listing off all the different things that people have suggested are argumentation points within the flat Earth debate. I saw that list and I'd started compiling my own list from a bingo card where Dumbos come to us and say, well, if Earth's not flat or if Earth is flat, blah, blah, blah. You know, they offer up this crazy rhetoric. So I started compiling my own list, and then Surf Daddy put that into Master B, where it's basically a list of things that I think he titled it Feast of Nonsense or something like that. Let's just read what he put. So yeah, 60 Feast of Nonsense points. These are the quote-unquote proofs and arguments we have all used over the years that are now rendered moot and void by the fact that all measurements from or of the surface of Earth are made with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. Spot on. I read it and I was like, oh, this is really useful. Must remember
That's a statement of fact right there.
Yeah. So suddenly, when you go down the list, I mean, some of them do include flat Earth prerequisites, but the way he's written them is good because it doesn't highlight them. So there was one that I thought would be a really good example. Where is it? Just give me a sec. It's, like it says lighthouses. And you're like, okay, I know what that means. Right, we get a lighthouse and it's how far into the distance should we see this light and how much is obscured from the bottom up. That's how lighthouses come up. But you're like, it's like oil rigs. What's the distance to the oil rig? Well, it's 9.2 miles. Stop! So we've got a flat Earth measurement. That's it. It's measured flat then. Well, you don't want to accept it. Well, then the argument stops here. What's that? No one's measured the ground. Now let me measure the ground at 9+ miles to infer a logical consistency. No. Once you've measured the ground at 9.2 miles, we have measured Earth flat. That's the end of the discussion. We don't need to go past it and start assessing whether or not we can see lighthouses or how much of the bottom of an oil rig's blocked. Who gives a shit? The distance is measured. It is flat. That's how we measure. Altitude, you say? What? How high off sea level on a common reference? And we're going to take this information for how high it is off the surface and how we are off the common surface level, otherwise known as the measured sea level, to see if the flat measured distance should or shouldn't be a prerequisite altitude measurement of an inferred blockage, like the altitude for the assertion that we should have blockage will be measured off sea level in feet, meters, or stories. The distance to the item we're assessing is measured planar, horizontal, and linear in miles or kilometers. Our height and its height is measured off surface level, with an average taken for sea level. So I count 4 flat Earth prerequisites before we do a damn thing. What you want to do is take all of them, ignore every single one of them as a flat Earth prerequisite, and start with, well, if Earth's a sphere, you're like, well, if we start with Earth's a sphere, you need to derive a radial value at 3959 miles from flat Earth measurements of elevation angles to stars or the sun to derive circles of equal elevation and then infer sphericity from them. So at minimum, to ignore prerequisite flat Earth measurements, you need 5 flat Earth measurements to infer the sphericity that enables you to walk past all 5 of them. I don't think we should be doing that. That just seems like a lot of energy wasted. I just stop at the mile measurement to the distance of anything ever, and I've got a flat Earth measurement. What, you want to tell me it's not a flat Earth measurement? Do you not understand what a mile is? Fine, you don't have to. It doesn't matter. I've still got this measurement though, haven't I? And I can just put a full stop afterwards and then say the Earth is flat, and nobody can contest me. What's that? We haven't measured the distance to the oil rigs. Okay, It's the end of that discussion then. Oh, what, you want to measure them, but you want to ignore how flat and linear that must be? Well, that seems silly. I'm going to just stop here at this measurement of a flat Earth, thanks. What? I'm not allowed. I'm a meanie. I'm ruining your day. You're not allowed to be looking like the big intelligent man that you think you are because I'm telling you that you've already used a flat Earth measurement. Yeah, that basically is what it boils down to, isn't it, Neil?
How are you?
I'm very tired, Neil. Very tired. How are you?
I'm feeling a little south today, but that's okay.
Oh, well, things are looking north. I had a little deadline set in my own mind, so I had the book sent back to me by the publisher for final approval. And when it was open in front of me in a document that was capable of being edited, I couldn't help myself. So I ended up adding a fairly substantial chunk to a chapter that had already been finished written and was there to be checked off. But I was like, I'd really quite like to add the anecdote of a certain map reading company and how they utilised the wrong direction fallacy in asserting that north is generally the top of Earth. I thought, what a wonderful juxtaposition between the actual use of azimuth and horizontal directionality in degrees from north at 0 to the incorrect assertion that we have a sphere Earth with a molten iron core generating a vertical magnetic field where generally north is at the top. Well, this is too useful to pass up in this particular chapter, so I thought I've got to incorporate it. So what started off with me saying, can I just add this sentence, just a line about a particular character's use of the wrong direction fallacy. And then before I knew it, I was introducing it in foreshadowing, if you know what I mean. So earlier on in the chapter, before that particular event comes up as relevant, I have to foreshadow it and explain what is about to be used in a more general term, so that when you get to it, it's not that you don't want it to be a surprise. I mean, that's fine, but it just sort of sticks out if it just randomly arrives, especially when in that particular chapter I'm already talking about a different character, but a character with a very limited character arc. So a particular individual comes in and says that they'll offer proof, and then they never come back. 9 years later, we're still waiting after hearing, I'll be right back. Well, that is about it for that particular character and their character arc. So over the top of it, I've then introduced a different character. Now, at one point I was saying to my wife, should I just make him the same character? And she's like, nah, just keep it as is. Just explain that halfway through the narrative of this chapter, you're explaining how a particular more recent character has done something, and then just switch back with a little reaffirmation of how this story is narratively interesting to somebody who hasn't come back in 9 years. So I had to do that, and it became complicated and ended up taking the entire weekend. So I woke up this morning, well, my wife and I woke up this morning about 6 a.m. I'm like, let's get some matchsticks in my eyes. We need to get this finished, sent back to the publisher. So I'm like, let's get it done. So she was working with me right to the wire. She starts work at 9 o'clock, and literally at 9:05 she was sending it off to the publisher, and then I went back to bed. I was like, I'm so tired. So I'm now exhausted.
Sounds like this book is getting better and better.
Well, my wife even noted that after we'd done it, because I was apologising to her. I was like, I'm really sorry I did this. I've ended up rearranging an entire chapter and having to introduce extra concepts and rephrase affirming the consequent fallacy so they incorporate this specific element that I've now introduced to the chapter. And it took a long time. It's chewed up my wife's entire weekend. And I was like, I'm really sorry. And she was like, no, it's far better that you do this now rather than sort of going, I really wish I'd incorporate that into the chapter later. And it's in front of us. We've got it open in a Word document. Who cares? But once you've done it, you can't just do it. You've then got to go back through it, and then you find that there's errors. So you amend the errors and carry on through it, and then go, well, we better check it over now that we've, checked the errors, make sure it's correct. So then you read it a third time, and you think, I need to introduce this extra foreshadowing element to it. But then you've got to start over again and read it all the way through again to make sure there's no errors in that. Before you know it, you've gone through one chapter about 10 times, which is normal, for each chapter. That's what we've done up until now. You know, you go through it and go through it and go through it like I've just described. But this instance, it was already done. I was supposed to be checking it off and going, yeah, I'm happy with that. Bosh, done. But no, I, like an idiot, wanted to incorporate something that was very, very, very recent, like in the last couple of weeks recent, into a book that was written several years ago. So, yeah, that's kind of kept me up till pretty much 9 o'clock this morning, just trying to get it finished and reach a deadline that I'd already agreed to. So there we go. I did manage it, though. It has been done. I am satisfied with the end result. And then I read it through, like the entire book, this morning, before going back to bed. Just after my wife had started work, I just set it on a screen voice speech, whatever you call it, to read out to me as I scroll through it. And within 20 seconds of it, there was an error, specifically an acknowledgement for you and John, actually, Neil. So I read it and it said words to the effect of, I acknowledge these two particular individuals who has been around for the entire process. I'm like, when you're talking about two of them, you need it to be have. And this was like on the second line of the book. So I'd already sent it to the publisher at that point. I was cursing. I'm like, oh, damn it. So I made that one correction and then read through the rest of the book and went, no, that's fine. There's a couple of double spaces where there might need to be single spaces, but that was the most egregious thing I could find as I was reading through it. And whether or not they get picked up on, I kind of don't care. You know what I mean? It's not critically important. So yeah, so like I say, I've managed to reach my deadline, albeit with a lot of exhaustion and a complete weekend being used to do it. But that's where we're at. It is still on schedule. It didn't actually, strictly speaking, add any time for me adding this extra bit of information. And it definitely benefits the reader because it meant that it sort of reaffirmed that which was already vaguely being expressed in the chapter anyway. That is to say, you've got a horizontal directionality that's used and utilised via magnetic field lines. But in terms of what that affords us for navigation purposes and has ultimately been used to expand the known territories of the surface that we have surveyed and charted, is that forms part of horizontal directionality, north, south, east, west, azimuth, degrees from north in zero. Those degrees are horizontally orientated when you give them out with a little degree symbol off them. You know, the curve in that particular instance is the curve moving out horizontally of the tool that you measure with a degree from a 0 point being the line at north. Well, that principle's very well established in navigation and has nothing to do with altitude, which is where you get your measurement with respect to ground positions below stars. Well, those two things are separate from one another and aren't there to be violated into each other's principle. You know, if one is horizontal, it's not describing the top of anything. But to have that be explained by way of an individual, a character, and their use of a fallacy, the wrong direction fallacy, to explain how a necessity is born out of this horizontal flat earth principle in prerequisite for directionality, azimuth and degrees in the horizontal for direction, versus altitude, elevation angles, where things topographically deviate with respect to a planar reference, is a vertical description and has nothing to do with north, south, east and west in the horizontal. So it was quite useful to incorporate that into the rhetoric to sort of say, well, why do we need this convoluted gaggle screw of nonsense about Thea smashing into us, whatever it is, 4.5 billion years ago, to increase the size of a molten iron core that gives you a vertical magnetic field? Wink, wink. You know, that's the bit that's surreptitiously slipped in between the fear-based propaganda and mind control that has you believing that you might be smashed into by another planet in the not-too-distant future, or that we might lose our spherical magnetic field that's protecting us from the evil solar radiation, or whatever bullshit they peddle in the heliocentric model that keeps you in fear, but ultimately just distracts you from the fact that what we're talking about here, magnetic field lines, what, the one that gives us a principle in the horizontal, that one, yeah, it is. So it did actually turn out quite nicely and is definitely a worthy addition. So even right down to the wire, it's been incorporated, you know, a current bit of rhetoric has been incorporated into the book. So the delays that have been frustrating and financially expensive for me. And the thefts, where people have seen my work as being so valuable they want to ascribe their own names to it, has meant that this delay has ultimately resulted in one very specific chapter having a polish up that has made it really shine. Like, it's a really, really good chapter now, you know, in terms of someone reading it and going, wow. So this whole notion of having spherical magnetic fields is just a big distraction from the actual practical use of the magnetic field lines used in directionality on a flat Earth. So yeah, it was definitely worth the effort.
Did you say horizontal distances?
Yes, all distances when you apply them to Earth and its surface are horizontal, Neil.
Oh dear.
Why?
Well, if you're talking about distance, then we're talking about flat Earth. So why do we got to go any further?
We don't, and we were discussing this in the pre-show, Neil. So there's an unexpected byproduct of offering up these silver bullets of, well, Earth's just being measured flat in all instances. Here's the distance, that's a flat Earth measurement. There's no arguing with that. That's just what miles are. That's just how Earth is measured. It's utilised in prerequisite if you want to assert distance to a geometric horizon. Same goes for things like altitude off sea level. If you want to measure your height to infer that there's a dip angle to a Earth curve edge, then you've got to measure your height off the surface level, and you need an axiomatic average for a plane of reference to describe your altitude perpendicular to it. So you've got all these flat Earth prerequisites that must be accepted. Distance is one of them. When you stop the discussion at the point that you've measured Earth flat, in this case for distance, then the side that formerly identified with us alongside us as flat earthers, in name only, actually anti-globers, find themselves in a position where there is no further need to argue. It is not an argument. Both sides at the start of the process can only agree with the flat Earth prerequisites because they're being used as values taken from Earth surface level measurements. So if you don't want to use them, don't use them. If you do want to use them, well, you've got a flat Earth that's measured. Nothing else needs to be done. We've got a flat Earth measurement for a distance. But then people can't sniff their own farts, lord it over next man, and flex their intellectual prowess. So we get people who are from our own side annoyed with us currently because we're making them redundant. You don't need to know about how the distance to a geometric horizon at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's measured height of a flat Earth based on a sea level average, a flat Earth prerequisite measurement, means that you can show how you're seeing too far, what a horizontal linear mile measurement that you're going to compare to a map that's been measured. Yeah, you've got quite a few flat Earth measurements that you're going to have to both accept and simultaneously whistle past to suggest that you're undoing a globe that's based on those flat Earth prerequisites in the first instance, and is having flat Earth measurements of height and distance punched into calculations that simultaneously ignore how flat Earth must be measured by all parties to even begin the argument. No acceptance and no whistling past the prerequisite flat Earth measurements means no argument, which is annoying to the people who want to argue. Me, I'm all right. I've got a cup of coffee. I don't need an argument, thanks. I know how a mile functions. We've measured it. The Earth, that is, in miles. Yeah, it's all flat. What's that? You think miles curve? Really? How do you describe topographical deviations from the horizontal if miles bend? They don't. But you, someone with no consequence to the subject, are now telling me that miles function completely differently to the axiomatic principles used in their measurement usefulness. Okay, go and believe that. Meanwhile, Earth is just measured horizontal and linear in miles, and topographical deviations, that's curves like hills, are also measured with respect to that horizontal linear measurement in miles. Called an elevation profile. Check it out.
Exactly.
Earth's measured flat.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get through to that guy Berserker, because he posts something that you could take an elevation angle standing in your yard, and you could also take one on the slope of your roof. Okay, what does that prove? All right, what is your roof sloping to? How you gonna explain? How you gonna use that? What is it in reference to? A slope. You still have to reference the Earth to have any sort of deviation from anything.
I mean, what people are suggesting is because you can raise in altitude. Okay, let's just stop there. Altitude, like how high you are off surface level, measured from sea level. Yeah, well, if you're up on your roof, you're going to say, well, I'm this high. Well, this high from what? Surface level? The ground level? Or sea level? Which one do you want to be really accurate and give you height above sea level? Well, then you'll need sea level. You've got to have measured a flat Earth axiom as an average for the entirety of Earth for you to make that assertion for your altitude. And what's that? Once you get up to a measured altitude from surface or sea level, you say that you're not at the surface level to measure an angle for an altitude angle. That's elevation angle. What's elevation mean? Well, like from the surface. Yeah, if you're at altitude, you need to know how high off the flat Earth surface level you are. Why? So you can correct it to the surface level. It's called a dip angle correction because you're not actually at the surface. If you're bobbing around in a lifeboat, actually at the sea level, no corrections needed. You're already at zero. You don't need to measure your height off a flat Earth to correct it back to it when you're using the surface to form part of the angle. The elevation angle, I seem to be hearing people suggest, has nothing to do with the surface. Look up what elevation means, you bunch of clowns. I know for a fact that none of these people who are decrying what the word elevation means when they say, this has nothing to do with the ground. Really? You don't understand what elevation means. Good job, you are utterly inconsequential to this process. You haven't gone out and expanded the known territories. You haven't mapped or charted any of the world. You didn't come up with the convention of miles as a linear distance measurement. You didn't utilize the linear distance measurement to derive the heights of the hills or, derivatively, the height of your roof. You didn't do any of those things at all. But why are you telling me that I'm wrong and it's not the surface, this elevation angle? Oh, it's because you want to whistle past all of it and argue about how non-spherical the world is. Let's forget all these flat Earth measurements off surface level, sea level, with eye level. Let's forget that we're utilising this to make an elevation angle. That's got nothing to do with the ground. Until we use it and pop it into a calculation that suggests that a parallel eye level, what, parallel with ground level? Yeah, in prerequisite, it's got to be flat also. Well, that'll infer a tangent point horizon. Okay, so we're going to whistle past the flat Earth measurement from the surface level. We're going to ignore that in order for that to be in any way accurate, we need to have measured sea level as an average. We're going to ignore that we're going to be taking or correcting our distance from the surface level, and we're going to ignore that eye level must be parallel with it when we calculate into existence by way of a sphere derived from flat Earth elevation angle measurements to the sun or Polaris. We'll ignore all 5 of them so that we can then argue about whether or not we've got sphericity. Forget all the flat Earth measurements we've just used. They're nothing to do with the ground. It's only the ground after we've used them, ignored them as being ground measurements. Then we can start asserting curved grounds. But we have to ignore all of the measurements of the flat ground, okay? Let's not pretend they're the ground. Yeah, they're only the ground when we use them and punch them into measurements that say the ground's curving. Okay? Let's get it right.
Yeah, they're stupid. Hi, guys. Even when, you was in the sea sextant, you will be utilising the horizon, which is referencing the surface of Earth to establish horizontal, yeah, with the GP down to that point. And then once you've done your height of eye correction, your eye will also be at sea level, and that horizontal radius line will be used for the circle of equal elevation or equal altitude. And so you are utilising the surface of Earth, definitely when out at sea, navigating the surface of Earth. There's no two ways about it.
Agree. I gave this guy a definition because he said an elevation angle is not referencing the Earth. So I read him. The solar elevation angle, or solar altitude, is the vertical angle between the sun's rays and the horizontal plane of the Earth's surface. So how is it not the ground if it says right here the horizontal plane of the Earth's surface, ranging from 0 degrees at sunrise sunset to 90 degrees directly overhead.
I mean, this isn't up for discussion. It's not like this is a debating point. When you detail what an elevation, that means from the surface, angle, that means two straight lines meeting at a vertex, is by definition, that's not you presenting somebody with a contentious point or an argument or logic. It's just a description of a measurement that includes Earth's planar surface to form part of an angle, an elevation angle. One line goes up to the object that you are measuring in the vertical. The other line is formed with the surface level. The horizontal plane of Earth's surface, end quote, Neil citation. Well, yeah, that's what elevation means. It's in the title. It's a pretty big clue, unless you're really stupid. Earth's measured flat with elevation angles. What we're measuring for? Oh, a ground position below the star at 90 degrees. What's that I hear you cry? It's not the ground! Oh, I see. So when we're measuring elevation, that's from the surface, for a ground position, it's not the ground. Piss off. Get lost, you stupid fart-sniffing dweeb. Yeah, we measure Earth flat with elevation angles.
He told me, because the definition he gave me was some baller definition about tangents, and he wants me to address his definition, but totally ignored the definition I gave him, which says the Earth's surface. So it's a waste of time. We're all alone here. They want it to be logical. He even said it going back and forth. He says, answer, and something about logic. I forgot what he said. And I got other people saying, yeah, I got lots of arguments. It's like a measurement is not an argument. Like, what are you doing here? Well, that's what it is. They wanna be the gurus, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's something else that I think people may derive pleasure from when they read my book when it comes out. That is to say that I've incorporated the flat Earth measurements into our so-called previous arguments. That is to say, where housekeeping questions kept the globers in check, where their claim to be proof of sphericity had already been debunked, I've now incorporated flat Earth prerequisites into every aspect of those so-called suggestions that had already been overturned in years gone by. So that as you're reading it, you can either accept and acknowledge how flat Earth must be utilised to create a sphere to have previously argued about it on Flat Earth Debate, or not. You can say, I don't want to accept that elevations from surface level. You don't have to. But it's often being utilised as part of a rhetoric that is spherical to begin with. It's just up until me noting it, nobody else has. Nobody said, whoa. What do you mean you want to measure your height off surface level? What, perpendicular to a plane of reference with a 90-degree ground position? That's to say, 90 degrees to the surface level. It's elevation measurements of angle. Elevation angles. Ignore the GP. No, that's a flat Earth measurement. Most sphere Earth claims are based on it. Now, if you say, I don't want to accept that, okay. We'll kick out your radius value with its linear distance in miles. That's come from elevation angles. That's where you measure Earth flat to infer flat level radii. And when you've got them, you can then convert those flat Earth measurements into sphericity. Convert being the operative word. It's a calculation into an alleged sphericity. It's not a measurement of sphericity. You calculate the globe into existence with flat Earth measurements. Now, we used to say, well, that puts you between a rock and a hard place. Either you accept the flat Earth prerequisites that build your sphere, that's the redundant bit that made it novel, or you accept that Earth is measured flat. Well, once you accept that that's how it's measured, there's no, well, I'm going to convert that into a distance to geometric horizon below the surface level that I've just measured. You're like, no, you don't get to do that. As soon as you recognise how flat Earth is being measured, your calculations of sphericity become completely inconsequential. We've got measurements, though, they're flat. What, you don't want to accept them? Only the after-the-fact calculations that use the flat Earth measurements? No, we won't be doing that with you. But it means from a flat Earther's perspective, what have they got to argue about? Distance to horizon's 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, and I can see that this building would be behind an Earth curve at a distance in flat Earth miles. I must ignore, so I can have this argument. We come along and go, well, your distance is a flat Earth mile measurement off these maps here that's been surveyed. Ordnance Survey measured it flat. The whole surface. For you to say that you've got an accurate distance to anything, you need flat Earth miles that have been measured to assert it. Not by you. You're not measuring anything. You're a fart-sniffing idiot on the internet. But meanwhile, smarter people than you went out already and measured it flat in miles for you to use these miles. What's that's nothing to do with the ground? Well, don't use them then. That's all right. It won't change what a mile is or how Earth's been measured with it.
But I thought they're trying to prove flat Earth, Nathan. So
No,
why
these
would
people
you
are liars.
run measurements?
No, these people who have lied to us and said that they want to prove that Earth is flat and wake up the masses did not. At best, they wanted to be the guru that planted the idea in next man's mind that Earth could be flat based on their oh-so-fantastic knowledge of how non-spherical the world is, that they'll bore the tits off you with. That's what they really wanted. They wanted to be the gurus and arbiters of new information beyond the general recognition of a public that's deluded into believing the Earth is spherical. Now we come along and go, well, believing the Earth is spherical starts with measurements of a flat Earth. And anybody who asserts that they've got sphericity must and can only accept the prerequisite flat Earth measurements of, I don't know, Polaris to give you an equator. Well, what's your equator? You think that's spherical? Where's it measured? Oh, flat? Elevation angles? Yeah, it is, yeah. What about time itself? How did you acquire this concept? Oh, you measured the sun with elevation angles off a flat plane? Yeah, that's right. That's the end of this discussion, though, isn't it? What's that? No, I want to accept distance, flat Earth, horizontal linearity. I want to accept time based on elevation angle measurements to the sun. I want an equatorial plane. It'll just be in the middle of a ball and flat. And I want to ignore all prerequisites that gave us them, because that would show that we're just measuring Earth flat. I want to ignore all of them and start with the presupposition that we're on a globe and ignore that the measurements that got us here were flat. Then we can start our argument. Now that's me as a so-called flat earther doing that, because I want to argue how it's not a ball. So we've got to accept all these flat Earth measurements that create it into existence to show how wrong it is. But it ruins all the fun if we start at, well, we've got a flat Earth mile measurement. Stop! Well, then we've measured Earth flat already. We don't need to do anything else. That's the end of the discussion. Surf Daddy supplied us with a list of what we generally refer to as Feast of Nonsense questions, which is to say how people used to infer that they were proving Earth was flat when they went through certain arguments that begged the question of sphericity and then argued about whether or not that was correct. So we've got, I'll just read out his preamble. These are quote-unquote proofs and arguments we have all used over the years that are now rendered moot and void by the fact all measurements from or of the surface of Earth are made with respect to a horizontal plane of reference. What I want to do, this is not going to get done today, right? We're going to go through a couple of them and just discuss them. These are our Feast of Nonsense so-called arguments from years gone by in a nice little concise list. We're going to go through them one at a time. There's over 60 of them. And we're going to start identifying where they're garbage or where they're whistling past flat Earth prerequisites. So the first one on the list is the Bible repeatedly describes the Earth as immovable, stationary, geocentric, and enclosed in a solid dome structure called the firmament, I should say. So this is alleged to be a flat Earth proof. Okay, we'll start there. Who's got any comments?
Well, you can't validate the firmament as far as, we don't know what it is. I wouldn't go in that direction.
Well, I'd start by saying it suggests that we've got a immovable, that's the biblical terminology, and then in brackets from Sir Study, stationary Earth. Okay, that's a non-positive claim. I assert we are not a roast chicken. Prove it. No, it's not necessary. It's a non-positive claim. If there's an assertion that we are a roast chicken, then that's a positive claim that would need to be backed. Now, non-positive claims, we're not moving. Yeah, no shit. What's that? There's an assertion that we are. All right, how's that proven? That's where the burden lies. Not with somebody to assert that, well, in contradiction to the outrageous claim that the very ground that you're standing on moves, you must prove that we don't. No, you don't have to do that. You don't have to prove non-positivity, right? The outrageous claim is what needs to be substantiated. We aren't making it. This is not a flat earth proof. You don't have to reach for your Bible to show that we're not moving. If you want to claim we are, you better have some bloody good proof of it. Not, well, it's suggested Earth turns underneath at 15 degrees an hour. Look at the stars move. What's that? There's no demonstrable evidence of Earth turning underneath anything. You and your reference frames have been ruined. Yeah, you're going to have to do better than that. That's not proof of two different reference frames. That's an assertion in the positive that fails immediately and is then rendered, relinquished, I should say, by the person making it. What's that? No reference frame deviations. Okay, so no proof you've got an Earth turn then. Yeah, that's how it boils down. We don't have any proof that there's Earth turning. It's suggested to be proven with a Coriolis deflection that we don't see. That's the end of that discussion. I'm undoing the positive burden.
Just going to say, though, Nathan, well said.
Anybody else got any comments on the dome one?
It's difficult that way. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, Neil's already said it. Even though nothing against the scriptures or anything, but it's difficult. You shouldn't be really using that when we're talking about measurements. And the point you've just read out didn't mention anything about measurements, did it? It mentioned immovable, like you've said, a dome structure, which we can't prove anything of, and nothing at all about measurements. So, but this is what it did happen quite a lot in previous times gone by. People would jump onto the scriptures in order to prove the shape and measurements of Earth without actually talking about measurements.
Yeah, again, if you want to undo a positive assertion that the sky is a vacuum in violation of the second law of thermodynamics, then feel free to unpack somebody's positive assertion that the sky is an availability of volume that gas at high pressure is not dispersing into. That's their claim. You don't need to assert that there is containment for the high pressure gas. It's an antecedent. The consequent being the fact that we're breathing. Now, that is not a positive claim. We are definitely breathing. We are definitely experiencing high pressure gas. Do I need to justify it? No. I'm not making any positive assertions about what the sky is. What's that I hear? The sky is actually a vacuum. There's rockets in an orbit. Well, okay. Orbital motion is derived from flat Earth prerequisites of elevation angle measurements and extrapolations in terms of distance made by Huygens when he superimposed a spherical radial value onto Venus for the purposes of scaling. That's a prerequisite flat Earth measurement derived into sphericity and then extrapolated out by pure fiat and assumption for distance. That's orbital motion when put into seemingly practical application. What, for rockets going around the moon? Definitely not. Rockets are not entering a sky vacuum in violation of natural law to travel a distance that's been extrapolated by flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements and presuppositions by Christian Huygens about Venus's spherical radial value measured here flat. That's not going to cut it to prove that there's a sky vacuum. Again, not my claim. Yeah, what's the sky? I don't care. Couldn't give a shit.
Yeah, plus once you've stated that, like you say, you're putting the burden on yourself to prove where is this dome? What's it made of? How high is it? Where does it end? You know, once you've gone down that dome point in the scripture. You're opening yourself up to prove all that.
Perfect.
Unfortunately, there is a lot of flat Earth people on YouTube still sort of going down that road as flat earthers, as proof.
You rounded that up beautifully. I was going to say exactly the same thing to round out that particular point, this first point about sky vacuums and domes being made as assertions by flat earthers. Why? So is there some necessity for you to make this claim? Now you've got to defend it, though. So what's the dome? How high is it? Height being a flat Earth perpendicular elevation measurement from surface level or sea level. Nevertheless, regardless of this easy to prove measurable distance in the vertical from sea level being a flat Earth prerequisite, there is no necessity for you to make this claim. You're doing it because you've had a successful burden of proof reversal fallacy employed upon you, where your so-called opponent suggests the sky is a vacuum, and they flip the burden to make it seem appropriate for you to start explaining with biblical cosmology what the sky is. Why? Did you need to make a claim about the sky? Do you want to make an assertion about it? Where's your standard? Oh, the Bible told you so. Well, why? What relevance does it have? Oh, we've got an extraordinary claim that the sky is a vacuum, therefore you felt it was necessary. It wasn't. Didn't need to do that. But now you've got to defend it. What a pain in the arse. Next, all images of the Earth from space are admitted to be computer generated. Who wants to have a bash at that one? It's a very similar theme to the first one, but
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that pops, this was argued. You'd spend time discussing and pulling up NASA videos of how they do have to do that and patch it all up. So, so what? I mean, sorry, I'm just trying to get it back up, but just read it again, Nathan. All images of Earth from space are admitted to be computer generated.
yes.
Yeah. So we're going to argue about this, are we? I'll put this forward as a proof of the shape of the Earth. That somebody in a room somewhere on a computer may be putting images together of a so-called area called space, which can't exist because it violates the second law of thermodynamics. I mean, how much time are you going to spend on that? But it's got nothing, again, to do with a measurement of the surface of the Earth that you're standing on.
Perfect little segue. So that's where I was going to take it immediately. You're of one mind with me today, one deck it would seem. So my question would be, to the person who has the burden, that's their extraordinary claim that there's men flying in the sky, taking pictures of a sphere Earth from a sky vacuum. What height did they take this so-called photo from again? Not, is it real, is it CGI? How high were they? From sea level? Next, we're able to see objects such as land, building, and boats that are supposed to be behind the curve. This annoys me greatly. I'll just say that straight away. It does piss me off. This whole notion that something is supposed to be behind Earth curve. You're like, okay, how are we going to get to this point where we've got an assertion that the Earth curve is supposed to block our view? Well, what we do is we infer a distance, that's a flat Earth horizontal linear distance, used by comparison on maps that have been measured by the Ordnance Survey. And we're going to get to that value by measuring our perpendicular height off sea level. Now, sea level must be level, because we're going to be applying mathematics that requires eye level be parallel with surface level. So we must measure Earth flat to get an accurate sea level in the form of mean sea level measurements. Then we can measure our height with respect to this common reference that's been measured flat called sea level to give us our altitude perpendicular to sea level. We will also measure a target and its elevation with respect to the same common reference from sea level. And then we can infer that the distance to a geometric horizon below surface level is 1.22 times the square root of the observer's measured height off a flat Earth so that we can see how much blockage should be there in an orthographic calculation that automatically assumes a radial value that's been derived from flat Earth measurements also. So back to, let's whistle past 5 different flat Earth measurements to infer that we can calculate a flat Earth linear distance in miles to a point below the surface level when we use mathematics that shows the side of our own head in an orthographic view and calculates a distance below a surface level that's measured flat at 1.22 times the square root of the observer's measured height off a flat Earth. Because when we do that and ignore all the flat Earth prerequisites, we can say that we're seeing too far. Very annoying. Anybody else got any comment on that one? Number 3 we're on, if you're following along in G+, in Master B.
No, I think you covered that quite well. I don't think you could go anywhere else. I don't think there'd be any other direction to take on that, Nathan.
Number 4, NASA and Obama say that we cannot leave low Earth orbit due to the Van Allen radiation belt. What's low Earth orbit? Low? Height, you say? Like low Earth orbit? That sounds very much like a flat Earth height measurement off sea level to me. Am I missing something? What's that? We shouldn't talk about that. We have to whistle past it. What about orbits? What, you're talking about the derived radial value measured off a flat Earth put into Keplerian orbital motion with scale distances from Huygens' assumption that Venus has the same flat Earth measurement ascribable to it? That sounds like quite a few flat Earth measurements right there, doesn't it? Orbits, you say? Yeah, we're going to need to measure a flat Earth for those. Should we whistle past those too? Yeah? We'll whistle past our low, that's height off surface level, Earth orbit, and pretend that the azimuth and altitude measurements used to acquire a radial value, they're not flat Earth measurements either. What's the height of the Van Allen radiation belts, I ask you? Now, let's get into whether or not they should have been poisoned by them rather than just having a measurement to and be a flat Earth prerequisite. Yeah, I'll accept your Van Allen belts. How high do you say they are? Off a flat Earth? Any more on number 4?
No, I mean, I was just going to say, yeah, they do put a height to that apparent location, so that would be in reference to the 0 degree baseline that we call sea level. Yeah, height off sea level.
Right, next, North Pole or North Pole star Polaris never moves and the constellations remain consistent. So forget about the constellations in this particular argument. I get why it's been thrown in there because someone said it at some stage. But the North Star never moves. Okay.
Well, it is you. Sorry, Nathan.
Yeah, you go ahead.
I was just saying, I would just automatically point out that the Polaris is used to measure elevation angles from sea level in order to, for our coordinates, latitude and longitude. It's we use that for elevation angles are used to measure latitude from Polaris, to and from Polaris. I'd simply just point that out. Don't need to talk about whether it moves or the other constellations. We use it from sea level for measurements that we use to navigate a map.
Yeah, it seems like a red herring fallacy. Like, have a look at Polaris, it's not moving. Oh, yeah, no, she's not moving. And what's it actually practically useful for? Oh, right, for deriving spherical systems with ever-decreasing or increasing circles as you move towards or away from Polaris, called latitude. Yeah, they're very useful areas of equal elevation we measure off a flat Earth with elevation angles. We've used them to expand the known territory, map and chart the world, create systems that we can plot onto maps, after lots of gerrymandering and conversion to and from sphericity into tubular maps and back out flat again for square grids comparable to the original measurements of areas of flat equal elevation with flat altitude angles to these stars, including but not limited to Polaris, which what doesn't move, who gives the tiniest of shits. We measure Earth flat with it, but we've got a load of drongo flat earthers just looking at it going, yeah, don't move. Who cares? We measure Earth flat with it. The globe's reliant upon it. Good.
Isn't north a flat direction?
Yes. You measure it in the horizontal with azimuth or degrees from north, with north being 0. Any more on this one about Polaris not moving?
No, I think you've covered Polaris. You said you didn't want to talk about the constellations. You wouldn't now. But I think what F Daddy's pointing out is like, yeah, people used to, well, if we was on a ball flying through space at such a speed, then, we wouldn't see the same constellations year after year. So flat earthers were putting that, they was arguing that point as some sort of proof of a flat earth, which it isn't. It's just trying to say we obviously don't live on a globe flying through the vacuum of space. Because if it was, the constellations would change dramatically, probably day or weekly or monthly. That's where people used to spend the time and energy. Not talking about measurements measured from sea level.
Right, number 6. Weather balloon footage and high-altitude aeroplane footage show that the horizon is flat and rises to eye level.
High altitude, you say?
What's that? It's the elevation of the balloons or aircraft from the sea level that we also measured flat to give us a perpendicular altitude from it? Yes, that's correct, One Deck. The flat Earth measurement from sea level of balloons and high-altitude aeroplanes show the horizon rises, according to this suggestion, to eye level and is flat.
Would that aeroplane, once at level flight, be flying straight and level, referencing sea level?
Yes. The flight level will always remain parallel with the surface level, whereas eye level, when cross-referenced with a horizon that's formed with the ground, will not rise with eye level. It's formed with the ground, and you've raised up from the thing forming it. So it's going to descend in your visual acuity as you raise in altitude, because the point in the distance is formed with the ground that you've raised up from. Now, if you're out on the aeroplane using a sextant in the aeroplane, you'll use something called a bubble sextant. Because of the axiomatic principle that your flight level and eye level are parallel with ground level, if you have a tool that automatically levels based on a bubble, that's a bubble sextant, then you can utilize the axiomatic principle of parallel ground level with eye level. If, however, you happen to be using a mariner's sextant that utilizes the horizon, then you would need to know your elevation off the surface, because it is the surface level that is forming the horizon. The eye level's parallel with the ground. The horizon will drop as you raise in altitude, and it's calculable, so that when you use a tool, in this case, a mariner's sextant, with the horizon, you must make a correction to bring it in line with what would be automatically useful with a bubble sextant to acquire parallel eye level with surface level. The horizon does not give you an eye level. It's formed with the ground level. So not only is this assertion that the horizon rises to eye level is wrong, it completely ignores all practical applications of the horizon. Now, if you're in a dinghy, because you've got your situations such that you've lost your main boat and you're actually in a lifeboat, then you're already at the sea level. So if you're pointing your sextant, mariner sextant, at the horizon in those circumstances, you're already at the same level as the ground. You're at 0 if you're in a lifeboat. So no altitude or height of eye, as it is known, correction, is needed to be made. Because you haven't raised up above the surface level. Now, likewise, if you're in a boat that hasn't sunk and you're not in a lifeboat and you're using a mariner's sextant, then you make a minor correction. When you're at port, you measure the height of the crow's nest with respect to the sea level so that you can always utilise the same calculated correction back to the surface level that forms the horizon, which you are above. Doesn't change the useful aspect of the ground level forming a point in the distance we call the horizon. It's still useful even at altitude, so long as you know your altitude. What's altitude? Your perpendicular measurement from sea level, like you'd use in a plane for flight level, or eye level to be parallel if you're going to infer a distance to a geometric horizon below the surface level. All of which requires flat earth measurements 6 ways from Sunday. Doesn't alter that there's a bastardization of how the horizon is used when it's incorrectly asserted to rise to the eye level. It does not. That's just wrong. Meanwhile, practically applied to save your life at sea, when you can use the horizon to acquire an elevation angle. It just might need some finagling if you're above the surface level that forms it. Any other comments on that one?
No, all good, that, Nathan. Well said.
Where are we? North Star Polaris never changes. Weather balloons show aeroplanes and the horizon must be flat and always rise to eye level. That's the one which is covered. Most of the astronauts that supposedly landed on the moon would not swear on the Bible or even accept money for charity of their choices. And that's what it's got. So I'm assuming that if this is talking about Bart Sabrell, when he's literally gone up to various different Apollo astronauts, put a Bible in front of them as God-fearing men and said, place your hand on the Bible and say, I swear to God I went to the moon. And he got abused, kicked in the ass, quite literally, and told no. Very amusing. Meanwhile, what, they're not going to swear on the Bible before God that they went to a sky vacuum? No, they won't, because they're liars. They didn't go through a second law of thermodynamics violating area of volume that gas is not filling to take a suggested path at a distance derived from flat earth measurements of elevation angles extrapolated into orbital motion, as we covered earlier. They're just liars. Didn't want to condemn their souls to hell, clearly. Anybody else got anything on the astronauts not wanting to swear on the Bible? I think we might get through 10 a day. It'll take us about a week to get through all of these. Water is always level and makes up 71% of our Earth. I'm just going to say straight away, 46.3% of all statistics are made up on the spot. Vic Reeves.
Yeah, I mean, let's read that again. Sorry, Nathan, I'm in and out.
71% of Earth's water, as alleged it is level. Basically.
Yeah. Well, I'd never go down that 71. I mean, there's obviously quite a bit of water on the Earth. You know, the oceans are connected, and they do have an average level. It's called mean sea level. Sorry, I mean mean sea level. So that we use that mean sea level, yeah, for all elevation profiles on Earth. I don't know exactly what the percentage is in relationship to Earth. That's a globe claim, I think.
It's a complete bloody red herring, isn't it? Who gives a crap how much percentage someone suggests that the Earth's water occupies? We're using and measuring Earth's sea level as a master reference to compare all topographical changes, and as we've just detailed, altitudes from it. You want to describe your altitude? Well, you'll need a measured flat Earth of the sea level. Clues in the title. What's that? Let's argue about whether or not water is level and how much the percentage is. Now, this is an axiomatic principle used in all measurements of altitude. Topographical changes being an altitude deviation from the sea level that we've measured. It's flat, it's level. That's the principle that's been averaged. When the rise and fall of the oceans is averaged to give us that master reference to describe altitude and topographical changes from. This is not up for debate. That's how we've measured Earth. Any more?
Yeah, just go look at a map. Just go and look at a map or Google Maps. It'll show you the horizontal baseline used for all elevation profiles on Earth. Like you say, it's the master reference for all measurements.
Okay, I don't really get this one. This next one's not got anything attached to it. NASA is budgeted at $56 million a day. End statement. I've got nothing.
Oh, really?
So,
Don't know if really.
I could say he has referenced a day. Now, you know.
Oh, slick! Very slick. Man, I had nothing. That's excellent. He did say day. What's a day?
Well, there's 24 hours in a day, and that's a reference of time, and it is measured using the sun from the horizontal plane.
I see. So it's an average measurement of the angle with respect to the sun and its trajectory over a 12-month period. What's a month? Yeah, we've got time in there. Very well spotted. My hat is off to you because I would have left it with I've got nothing. NASA is budgeted at 56 million a day. What can I come with? Day! Left field. Absolutely epic. I love it. Right, number 10. Operation Paperclip. Nazi Germany helped from NASA, e.g. Werner von Braun. I don't really understand that. Operation Paperclip. Nazi Germany helped form NASA. Again, I've got nothing.
No, I think I've heard some people talk about this. They NASA's connected with the Nazis, and I don't know what that's got to do with a measurement of Earth. Operation Paperclip, Nazi Germany. I mean, Germany is, a location. It's a location with reference to latitude, which is an elevation angle measurement taken from sea level. That's all I've got on that one.
Yeah, it doesn't strike at the heart of what's being suggested. I mean, this is a conspirator. I mean, this is feast and nonsense, obviously, through and through, right? But what? So what? Okay, yes, it is suggested that people like Werner von Braun, who is very German-sounding, let's be honest, was rounded up by the Americans after World War II and then put into, training camps where they had to science for the Americans. Like, I would assume they're doing it under very little duress. But the fact that he originated from Germany, this is Werner von Braun, the father of rocketry, well, okay, so what? Does that mean that there's some conspiracy about the acquisition of German scientists in name only?
Nathan, he has Psalm 19 on his gravestone.
Which is?
The heavens declare the glory of the Lord, and the firmament shows his handiwork.
And?
There you go.
There you go.
It.
And?
What do you mean, and? He knows something.
That's taken us back to like the first or second. I know what you're saying, Neil. That's taken us back to the first. What was the first or second question? With the Earth is immovable. So that's on the Hollywood pavement. But then you into that. Then talking about the firmament and the dome. So I don't know. It's that's what. Yeah, people have argued this. No, it's not like I don't know why they're arguing it. It's not a bloody measurement.
Well, we've heard that for years. You know that.
So with the last one on today's show, the heliocentric model was created by Freemasonic Satanic occultists.
Oh boy!
I had to laugh in the rewrite we did over the weekend. I was describing the copyright strikes, and I was linking it back to your current japery in regards to superimposing up or top and down/bottom in substitution for feeling good when you say you're feeling, up, or you're upbeat, or you're feeling sad, downbeat, whatever, right? Well, you've been superimposing it off the back of Wayne from the mapping channel when he asserted that generally north is the top. And you'd be saying, well, don't feel down about this. Well, I had to incorporate that specific rhetoric into the book. And what was the question that we're asking this in regards to? Oh, yeah, satanic occultists. So I'm describing how you, in my book, are saying to me, don't get down about having 33 copyright strikes over the period of 11 years. You know, things will be looking north soon, right? That was the kind of joke that I incorporated into the chapter that I was editing. I shouldn't have been. I should have been signing it off. But nevertheless, I couldn't resist it and added in some extra bits. But, the point being, when I read it back, it was part of a chapter where I'm describing a guy who came in 2017 to say, I've got evidence of the self-perpetuating molten iron core. And we're like, well, go and get it then. It's like, okay, I will. I'll be right back. And then I'm describing how it's 9 years later and he still hasn't come back, right? So then I look at it, and then within 2 or 3 sentences, I've got 33, 9, and 11 all in the same section. And I'm looking at it going, someone's going to read this and say that I intentionally used 33, the number of copyright strikes I've had, 11, the number of years I've had them over, and 9 for the number of years that it's taken Paul Voigt to actually never return. I'm like, just doesn't make me a Freemason. It's just a coincidence, I tell you, a coincidence.
Sure it is.
Well, yeah, it is, literally. It's just numbers. That just happens to be the numbers. It has literally been 9 years since Paul Voigt said, I'll be right back with his evidence of the molten iron core. It is literally 11 years of copyright strikes that I've received. 33 was just the number that I arbitrarily ascribed. I think it's probably around that number, about 30. So I'll be honest, I just put 33 in because it was approximately the right number. I haven't actually counted, if I'm ruthlessly honest.
Why not 34, Nathan?
Why not 37? Because it might not be correct. That's why.
I'm just saying, have you got a copy of this heliocentric model that the satanic occultist created? I'd like to read through that.
It might be a good read. Right, any more for any more? If not, we're going to round out this live stream.
No, that's great. Good. Some good points there, Daddy. It was nice change going through them. Well structured. Yeah, good one, Daddy. He's not here today, is he? But yeah, it was good. That do some more tomorrow.
There's 49 more of them, so we'll probably be doing them for the majority of the week. But with that, I'll say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
You answer my question, or I'll ban you. No,
You're
what
not
did
the
he
boss of
say?
me.
He said it differently. He said, deal with my, let me see how he said it to me. He said, F you effing retard, address the definition and the logic or you're blocked. So he sent me his definition of an elevation angle, which had tangents in it and spheres in it. You could tell he asked AI a question and AI answered him. I got it. That's how I figured it out, because I'm reading the thing and I see that AI overview. So he asked AI the question, can I stand in my garden and measure the elevation angle of a star and then stand on the sloped roof and do the same? So the answer that AI overview gave him, that's it, that rules.
Has he done that?
He said, you are exactly right, because stars are practically at infinity. The parallel lines of sight mean the elevation angle remains identical whether you're in the garden or on the roof.
That doesn't affirm his position. It's still an elevation, like on this just diagrammatical example on screen now. So it's still an elevation angle, and based on we're not going to be able to utilise the fixed distances ascribed to the heliocentric model by Christopher Huygens, they're actually infinite and don't alter in elevation angle. That's a planar measurement with respect to Earth's surface as detailed with the word elevation, doesn't change when you rise up on your roof. Yeah, still a flat Earth measurement. It just annihilates the notion of Huygens distances to the stars. So what AI actually did was take away a fairly substantive chunk of his heliocentric belief then. Infinite distance, you say? What, like the celestial sphere with respect to a flat plane, like diagrammatically exampled on screen now? Yeah, still a flat Earth elevation angle though, isn't it? It's labelled in this diagram altitude A. I say it doesn't matter if you're up on your roof when you measure it. Yeah, that's right. yeah, that's correct. But if you're going to use the horizon to acquire it, you will have to do a dip correction to get it back to surface level.
Yep. And if you read on, it says, while your location on the ground doesn't change, so it has it on its own. Location on the ground change the angle to the stars. Elevation changes do matter for observing objects within our own solar system. For nearby targets like the moon, planets, or artificial satellites, a change in position can introduce a slight shift in the observed angle, known as parallax. By measuring these tiny differences from different elevations and locations on Earth, astronomers can use geometry to calculate the exact distance to those objects.
What was his point?
I don't know. Because the distance to even the closest star is measured in light years, trillions of miles. Oh, really? How do you come up with that? I'd like to have that validated, please.
We only want its GP, ground position. That's all we need. Not we, navigators who've been navigating the seas for years and years and years. Just want the GP. Where is it on the ground position? We'll take an elevation angle to get the ground position, eh?
Yeah, but they won't argue that it's not the ground. That was his big thing. Jenner and him, it's not the ground. I could stand in my garden to measure the elevation angle. I could start standing on a sloped roof and measure the elevation angle. It's not the ground.
Yeah, but we're at sea. We're using the horizon mirror. Can they describe the horizon without referencing the surface of Earth? No.
Never. How would you do that?
You can't, because it is referencing the surface of Earth.
Yeah, so that's it. You just label them as, you stay over there. There's a pruning going on. We're getting rid of idiots and morons and people that want to argue something that is not supposed to be argued. It's supposed to be a slam dunk. And they still want to argue. So go ahead, go argue. They pulled me in this weekend, I should say.
Yeah, stop causing trouble, Neil.
It's that song, One Deck. You got people pissed off with that song. Oh man, I got banned because I wanted to read some of his freaking threats that he was shooting at me, but they banned me. So I can't even get in there no more. Like you, I can't even get there. Like you couldn't get an FED, I can't get in their server now.
Yeah, the FED. Not that I'd go in, but that FED logo, the FED letters, white on a black
Yeah, the old
background.
server.
Yeah, that's not on my phone anymore. It's gone.
So that's weird because when they ban you, you lose it. It just goes away because
I don't know. I didn't think so. I thought you couldn't get onto it, but it's gone. It's just totally vanished.
Well, that guy Berserker banned me last night from Jenna's server, and it was gone too. It just goes away.
Yeah.
So that's how they do it. I don't know. Anyway, listen,
Yeah.
I just tried to set him straight.
Yeah.
Telling me it's not the ground when you in your citation it's saying it's the ground.
Well, you're navigating the surface of Earth, aren't you?
Yeah, of course.
Of course it's the ground.
Not if it's measured flat and we need that measured flat surface level of the ground to produce a ball to say it isn't. Then it's not the ground. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, you're navigating the Earth one day, but it's got nothing to do with the ground.
I said they got the Anthony Riley syndrome. It's not the ground.
No, it's not the ground that we're navigating across.
But Nathan's right. It was the ground when they were using it for the sphere Earth, right? It was the ground then.
Well, they've got latitude apparently on the sphere, and I think that's is an elevation angle from sea level to and from Polaris.
By the way, somebody sent a message saying, "Boy, Nathan's gonna feel horrible when he finds out that horizontal distances prove the globe." Listen to what I just said. Horizontal distances. Now, just picture a horizontal distance going for miles and miles and miles. It's going to prove a globe, mate.
It's ridiculous at this point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
I like reading through this list. It really does sort of bring back memories of arguing about this stupid shit for years on end.
That was one of my first ones, though, the Constellation one, before, because I used to look at thinking if we was fucking moving, I used to tell it to people in the beginning when I first got into it, like the constellations would obviously change, but we've got Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, year after year, all the constellations move across the sky. And if we was whizzing through space at 666,000 miles, 666, I'll be giving it.
There it is.
Yeah. They would alter. So that was, but at the time I was thinking, well, yeah, we can't be flying through space because the constellations would alter, obviously.
Think about that for a second. As you're going through school and as you're going through life before, like, you came to flat Earth, that's what was happening, right? Supposedly. But meanwhile, we're just standing still. No, we're flying through space. But that was the big thing they threw out there, right? It was flying through space. It was the amount, 666, the number you put out there. Those are all the things you got fed. I think David White still uses them.
I really hope people push my book when it comes out. People start reading these flat earth prerequisites intertwined in the arguments that they may currently be having if they're alleging to be on our side. Because once you read about how flat earth must be utilised in prerequisite to have the argument, you can't unsee it, you can't unhear it, because denying it denies the argument that you want to sniff your own farts with, denies the base foundation for the argument to exist. Now, the fact that towards the end of the book I'm decrying the whole purpose of the flat earth debate because the prerequisites are flat earth measurements is irrelevant if you're currently using the arguments and whistling past the flat earth measurements. When you read how flat earth must be measured to have the argument, what are you going to do? Just decide that you're going to ignore it? You go mad. I really hope people do actually push the book out and start getting people who are currently in the arena to actually read it and go, look, there's a better way. You can carry on arguing about this, but you might as well at least highlight the prerequisite flat earth measurement that both sides are using at the beginning, even if you then decide that you're going to whistle past it, fallaciously employ the rock and a hard place. Well, I accept that earth is measured flat to create this ball, but then the distance flat to the geometric horizon below the surface level measured flat from the measured flat earth altitude means that it's too far. You're like, yeah, but you sound like a pillock when you do it.
Oh, boy. It depends on where their head is at. Now, if you read it and the penny drops and you read it for what it is and come to an understanding of it, you'll be like, oh, cool. If not, because remember, there was resistance from the panel. So what was going on there, they fully understood, right? But they didn't want to become redundant.
An appreciation for that which you already recognised and were taught in the geography class, I don't think is making flirfs redundant. It's just making the arguments we were given in a controlled opposition narrative redundant?
Yes.
Like, if you can recognise that you're only being trained to use those arguments so that both sides argue beyond the flat Earth measurements about whether or not Earth's a sphere. That's very useful if you want the argument about whether or not Earth's a sphere to be the most prevalent thing. And if you're arguing in that way, you are a tool for the opposition. The best way to control the opposition is to lead it. Well, if you lead your opposition to argue about whether or not we have sphericity and ignore flat Earth prerequisites, then you're playing into a version that's been created of reality that seems organic. It seems like we organically said Earth's not a sphere. It's like, why would you organically brace against the narrative that your opponent wants you to argue about when their narrative requires your argument stands true in the first instance? Your argument, which doesn't exist when you recognise this, is that Earth is measured flat. It is, and it's required by the opposing side for them to create a ball for you to brace against. So by just bracing against the ball, you're assisting your opponent. By acknowledging that the ball's made with flat Earth measurements, you're ending the argument before it begins.
Well, that's not good if I want to argue the 4 different gravities. You know, I can't show my smarts that way, Nathan. I got to explain that there's 4 different gravities, and,
A lot of people in Discord,
it's flat, then, it's not needed.
What's with the Discord popularity? There's loads of people in there. Hello, Discord. Tumbleweeds. Loads of people in
Well,
there.
that's good news. Who's that guy, Michael R? I seen somebody named. Does anybody know who that is, or is that a new guy? It was Michael
I
R.
suppose.
No, I've been here before, and probably, I don't know, 14 months now. I've probably been listening, maybe longer. Hello, Neil. Hello, Nathan. Love
Hello,
the show.
good to have you.
Great information. Good, I'm good. Just listening this morning. Excited for the book when it comes out. Can't wait.
Me too. I hit my sign-off deadline. I was supposed to be signing it off over the weekend, which just means reading it after the publishers has had it as a sort of final check. And because I had it and I'm good at it, I started to make changes, and then very quickly went, I haven't got time for this. So then we chucked our entire weekend at it to get it done, and then got it off to him literally this morning. So when the publishers, in bed, technically Sunday night, we've woken up at 6 a.m. for us Monday morning, but it's, strictly speaking, he's just gone to bed, and we've rattled our way through it this morning for 2 or 3 hours before my wife started work, and then got it off to him. So as far as he's concerned, he's got it Monday morning as expected. But my God, did it take a lot of work. You think, it's just a little change. Nothing's ever a little change. And once you've changed it, you then got to go through the chapter over and over and over again to make sure that there's no, alterations or things that need correcting. So, there still will be. There's always going to be something minor, but, no major egregious errors. So yeah, we had to go through it again and again and again and again. But we did.
I noticed that writing a book is a lot of work.
Yeah, you're not kidding. To do it well, I think, is a real monumental task. Maybe that's just my experience, having drafted it 10 times now. One of which getting stolen. But it's complimentary, like I said in many of the previous shows, the fact that somebody else values what I do so highly that they feel the need to steal it from me and rework it into stories of spinsters and so forth is a compliment. People obviously value the legacy that Flat Earth Debate has created, housekeeping questions being this particular instance. I see them as less valuable as the overarching point of the book, and more useful as a sort of basis to explain flat Earth measurements moving forward. But that wouldn't have been the case if I hadn't been stolen from. So, all good things come to those who wait. There's a reason for anything. I know that a lot of people have been describing it kind of like it's divine intervention, or I've forgotten the word that we've been using, cathartic, or I've forgotten the word. What's the word?
No, it's providence.
Providence, exactly. Yeah. So, I'm not too gutted. I'm really poor, which was the whole point of writing the damn thing. But other than being really poor, you know, it's right up to the wire where I don't just need an extra income now. I'm desperate for it. When the book comes out, I'll be so grateful that it is actually generating money, because I need it. I'm really, really up against it at the moment, like a lot of people around me. But, you know, I'm glad I've done something to make life a bit easier moving forward, because bloody hell, I really hope it comes soon. 'Cause I need it.
So you say you got that stolen from you. According to Flatsy, you almost got away with stealing it from QE.
Say again.
You almost got away with stealing the book from QE.
He's
Go
talking
figure
about
that out.
people who've been gaslit into believing. It's called victim blaming. You know, you blame your victim for your own digression. That's what's occurring. And people who are around you, the empaths that you surround yourself with, often will buy their bullshit and the gaslighting and projection, victim blaming in this case. So someone's telling me that I've not put anything out. So I was being helped by somebody who's put out my 5th draft with a veneer of this particular individual over the top of it. And apparently I've stolen from them, but I haven't put anything out. So my God, this Flatsy Dumbo is completely delusional. Wow.
Yeah, she said you almost got away with it. You understand? But by them
Oh,
coming
of course.
in,
Sorry, stupid me. I didn't realise that I was in a hangout producing someone else's book about some spinster, and I almost got away with stealing that book. No, you fucking thick bitch.
yeah, she's just a dummy because she was in there with me and one deck in Jenna's server. Somebody showed up and we just were dogging him, and she came into his defense. And these are the things she was saying. I'm like, so I got that quote from you and put it up. I said, this is your words, Flatsy. What happened? No answer.
But let me get it straight. You presented her with her sentiment that she's now in complete contradiction with, and she had no answer for it.
Yep, no answer.
Really? So, may I suggest that you are raped by Satan, you fucking whore? Not sure how to respond to this. Sorry, let's start that again. Quote, I'm not sure how to respond to this. It was my understanding that we were all volunteering to help for your book. End quote, Flatsy Klein. Let me get it straight. This whore of Satan now suggests that I almost got away from stealing that which she, in her own words, describes as mine. I hope you get raped in hell, Flatsy. That's what I hope for you. Okay? Lying whore of Satan. It's a good job we got your words and sentiment about how shocked you were that I'd been robbed from. What's that? I almost got away with robbing from those who've now published my 5th draft with a little story about Flatsy the country singer. Cunt being the operative word here. Now, you're not a country singer. Nobody's fucking heard of you. You've got absolutely no relevance to this story, Flatsy. You got a little bio so that this could happen, so that you could suggest that I was the one doing the stealing. No, Flatsy. You personally have stolen from me. Your name is now slapped on to a story about housekeeping questions. You want evidence that they're mine? There's 2,500 tapes of me saying them. And then there's tapes of 2 editors, thieving bastards that they are, helping me and describing me as the author. Now, those are clips that other people, less dumb than you whore of Satan, have gone and acquired from the facts in the matter that have been published on tapes. Now, you were privy to that information, and I got your own fucking words in front of me about how shocked you were that I was being robbed from, about how you understood you were helping me. Oh, what, were you helping me steal from myself? No, you're a whore of Satan, Flatsy. Yeah? And you deserve eternal condemnation for your accusations in complete inconsistency with that which I've got written down. You complete whore. You lying slut of Satan. You deserve the pain for eternity that you will experience. How dare you assume that I am the victim, that I am the one who's doing the stealing? What a slut, whore of Satan you are, Flatsy.
Yeah, then he posted, the first book, I guess, whatever you did with Chuck. He posted that and said something derogatory about it. So, as I was saying, Nathan's second book is going to be even better. The first book got robbed, but it's redundant basically anyway. But his second book is going to be outstanding.
Yeah, it does piss me off. People like Flatsy. What a whore.
Yeah, I told her. I said, you sold out. I said, the bottom line, Flatsy, is you sold out for a partner book. End of story. And you sold out because now I hear you saying our book, our book, our book. Well, that's all it took was for them to say, we'll give you a part and you can label it as your book because we're not like Nathan. We don't want all the credit. We're going to put you down as a co-author.
Sorry,
it's a little game they play, you know what I'm
read
saying?
out Flatsy's words again as she keeps saying our book, our book, our book. No, not according to your own fucking words, you whore of Satan. Let's just read them again. It was my understanding, this is Flatsy's own fucking lying whore, Satan raping words. It is my understanding that we were all volunteering to help for your book. Flatsy's book, you mean? No, not according to Flatsy's own lying whore words. I hope you get raped by Satan. That's what I envisage for your future, Flatsy. You're not a country singer, yeah? Getting a little bio in a stolen book that, quote, we were all volunteering to help you, that's me, with my book. Flatsy's own lying whore words. That are now, what, I was trying to steal this book that Flatsy described as being mine? All right. Why the change of heart? Was it because you got a little bio in the front of my stolen material there, Flatsy, you whore of Satan? Is that why the change of heart? Suddenly it's our book. No. It's the same book that you were so shocked and shaken about, that you understood you were helping me with. Suddenly it's me stealing it. Yeah, I hope you experience pain for your deceit, Flatsy. I hope Satan takes great pleasure in absolutely destroying you for all eternity. Or you could shame the devil, as my grandma used to say. That is to say, your inconsistency with your lying whore words that I've got written down about your shock about the theft of my material you're now accusing me of almost getting away with stealing. I hope Satan absolutely destroys you, you lying whore.
Well, I guess she means because, like say when we're doing a black swan, she thinks that's QE's. Or if we're doing gas price without containment, she thinks that's QE's. And whatever he was cutting and pasting from his freaking website and putting it in your book, that's how he was able to manipulate her. See, this is all my stuff here. And he wasn't giving me any credit for it.
This is all my stuff I offered to help him with. Okay.
In the book, it's not saying that these are your arguments anyway. These were things that were discussed and formed in flat earth debate. That's the whole purpose of it, right?
I don't know why we're justifying this, right? That's the end of the discussion. Right, I've got Flatsy's written, documented reaction to the theft of my material that later got a little bio about how she's a country singer in it, therefore it's hers. No. I know what I've got written down from Flatsy and her reaction, yeah? And the subsequent actions she took to mitigate for the stolen material I lost. This whore now suggests that I'm the thief. I hope you experience pain, Flatsy, I really do. Or, like my grandma used to say, you could shame the devil for your ill-gotten gains. Was it worth it? Do you feel like your name's in lights being described as a country singer? No, you'll be squealing in hell in pain for your deceitful nature. You're a sellout. You managed to accuse me of stealing my own material that you were so shocked I'd lost. That's a bit of a turnaround, isn't it? Is it all just because you got a little mention? It's a shame you're not consequential to the actual story of Flat Earth debate. You didn't appear very much in the 2,500 shows that I iterate those points over and over and over and over again. Yeah, you weren't consequential to any of those story arcs, though, were you, Flatsy? Yeah, you're just a little bio slapped on the front of stolen material. That's all you ever will be.
Yep, that's correct. And I'll have to defend that for all their living days. Now, no, it's not stolen, it's ours.
Yeah, why don't you shame the devil there, Flatsy? Yeah? Repent. Yeah? You can still be forgiven by your Lord and Saviour for your deceit, or you can be raped in hell by Satan himself for your utter disgraceful accusations that I'm stealing my own fucking material, that I've got you on record describing the shock of when it was stolen after I was being offered help with my book, end quote, you. Yeah, it seems like you've just been bought out to be claimed to be a country singer in a little bio that no one's going to fucking read. Was it worth it? Eternal condemnation? Shame the devil, Flatsy. Shame the devil.
We also got blamed for the PDFs that people were getting for free. We're getting blamed for that. Like, we're the ones doing it, sending people free copies. It's like, are you out of your freaking mind, Flatsy? What the hell is wrong with you?
Let me get it straight. She's now suggesting that I'm the arbiter of free distribution of my stolen material that she sold out and has accused me of stealing. So not only did I steal my own material that I didn't publish, I'm now guilty of distributing shit that was previously mine in PDF format. Oh my God. Yeah, I hope it really hurts, Flatsy. I hope it lasts eternity too. I mean, simple solution, just shame the devil. That's all you got to do.
You'll never do that. It's all about pride. Pride caused this whole thing, and pride comes before a fall. So there's a bunch of people that are going to have a very, very hard fall.
What an outrage.
Yeah, that shit pissed me off. I was like, so now you're blaming us for sending free PDFs of a freaking book that was stolen in the first place. First of all, I haven't read the book. I don't have the book. Are people sending PDFs? I don't know. That has nothing to do with us. I said, what's happening now, Flats? Here's what I told her. I said, see, what's happening now is Nathan got real friends around him. And we were all in there for editing process. And you know what? There's only one name on the cover. And that's the way it's supposed to be because it's Nathan's book.
Yeah, as Flatsy well knew. But she's had a little change of heart now. She's been described in a little bio as a country singer, completely irrelevant to anything Flat Earth related. Not incorporated into the story. She's not describing how North is the top of the sphere Earth by fallacious reasoning. No, she has absolutely no consequence whatsoever to the progression of Flat Earth debate and housekeeping questions. None. Well, what's the relevance of that? Well, that's what the stolen material was about. It's had her name slapped on the front of it in a little bio format, so suddenly it's hers now. No, Satan is going to rape you, Flatsy. He's going to really enjoy it too. He's going to be smiling at you while he does it. Unless you shame him. Like with the truth, that you were bought cheap.
No, she said you were lazy. Are you kidding me? He was lazy. He wasn't doing anything but playing video games. I said, yeah, because he was the author and he was the boss while you were editing. While we were all there, he has the right to play video games. But that's what they sold to them. That's how they deceived them, which bothers me because maybe I should have stood on that phone call. Maybe I could have saved her from, you know what I'm saying? If I would have stood in there to resist them.
Riddled with contradictions. So let me get it straight. I was lazy. While I was stealing my own fucking material, Flatsy, you dumb bitch. Lazy? What do you mean? If it was not mine, why the fuck would I be doing anything other than playing video games? If they're producing a story about someone that's not me. Off the back of my material that they're also demonstrating and saying is Chuck's. Are you that fucking dumb, Flatsy? You fucking retard. Really? So I was lazy in what? The production of my book? According to this dumb bitch, I was stealing my own fucking material but simultaneously really lazy in the production of it. Which one is it? You dumb fucking whore. Seriously, I want an answer from Flatsy the fucking whore. Which one is it? Was I lazy in the production of my own book or was I stealing it? Which one is it? You fucking retard.
But make sure you give us an answer for that on Tuesday when you have your show. Because I know you're listening.
I don't give a fuck. I have read their book. It's an absolute pile of shit.
Well, they're going to say you were saying it was so good, but now that this happened, it's a pile of shit. Yeah, you turned it into a pile of shit.
Yes. Yes. What I will say is, originally it was about me and the progression of housekeeping questions on my show. Then it turned into a story of a woman who can't keep a man. That's the opener to the book. I'm not allowed to call it a pile of shit. Yeah, sorry. You think a hook is, my name's Betty and I learned how to use the internet in the 2000s after being used and abused by a deadbeat man. That is the fucking opener to your absolute steaming pile of shit you stole from me. The amendments that removed me from my own fucking story, yeah, the only good bits are the bits about housekeeping. What's housekeeping? The questions asked on this show, daily, 2,500 times. What's that? That's not mine, I stole it. No, you fucking whore. Those are the questions asked on this show daily, you dumb bitch. The ones that I was being lazy while we were editing them, playing games, but simultaneously I was fixing to steal the work that I was being lazy in the production of. What kind of fucking retard logic is this whore utilising? You're dumb as shit, Flatsy. But that's the point. That's why you're being used. Because you're dumb. Yeah? Yeah, all it took was a little bio, and now you're suggesting that I'm thieving the material that's been stolen about housekeeping, and has your little bio at the front of it? No, you dumb fuck. That's why you are useful. Your stupidity's malleable by two thieves. And that's exactly what's happened. Just like Betty, rode hard and put away wet. You've got a reputation of being dumb. What's that? You were used and abused by a deadbeat boyfriend? Very telling and useful to other deadbeat thieves who will also use you, ride you hard and put you away wet. That's what's happening here. Well, you got to be of a certain intellectual standard to be exploited. And that's exactly what's happening to these two chicks, Flatsy and Betty. They're being exploited. Well, you can only have that occur if you're dumb as fuck. And they both are. What's that? You're not? You object? Really? Deadbeat boyfriend. Your words, apparently. Yeah? When you act as the substitute for me. Yeah? You are being taken advantage of by a deadbeat. So we can definitely assess your poor judgment in men. You go out with deadbeats who use up your prime, leave you on the shelf. Yeah? That's what's happened. Those are the facts. Don't like them? Tough luck. Don't write about them on top of stolen material and you won't get called a retard whore used by deadbeats. Because that's what you've described yourself as. I mean, it wasn't you that penned it, was it? Apparently, my material, after being stolen, is now someone else's material because a thin veneer of a woman who can't get a decent man has been superimposed on the top of it. It just shows how far these people have been gaslit, really, doesn't it?
Yep. To the point where it's like, whoa, are you really serious right now?
Seriously stupid. Well, you pay a price for it. In my humble opinion, if you don't shame the devil, he's going to take advantage of you.
Well, you know what they did, Nathan? They made it They made it sound like they came to you and there was no reason why you should not have agreed to co-authorship. Right? That's how they're portraying it. So he's telling them, I'm using all my stuff from my copywritten material, and he's not going to put me down as a co-author? What kind of friend is that?
It's pure projection. When they've got a book in their name, not mine, with all my stuff that's housekeeping, and they're moaning about me not giving them co-authorship when they've stolen my material and not put me on as a co-author. Okay. Yep, absolute definition of projection. He didn't give us co-authorship, so is my name on there? No. Why? Well, because you've stolen my material about housekeeping questions, superimposed the story of some spinster whore who gets used and abused on top of it, and you have not ascribed my name to the shit you stole. What, the shit that I was just sitting around? Yeah, I was there though, wasn't I? It was my hangout. I paid for the space. They were there after volunteering to help me with my book that you were so shocked when it was stolen, Flatsy. What's that? I was fixing to steal it from them? You deserve pain in hell, Flatsy, and you will experience it. Shame the devil, Flatsy. Shame the devil. Amazing how easily bought people are. I get to be described as a country singer. Wow. This is my book now.
Well, now I hear that freaking... Now, I stood off of Roger Ledwell, right? I stood off of him because he really was never part of the panel. I see him in there by QEs, but now I heard he was on his show with LVA Paul promoting QE's book. So, gonna have to address that. I'm sorry.
Roger Ledwell does know the score.
Exactly. But I was giving him a little grace because, hey, he wasn't part of the panel, actually. And he says he's in there to freaking take shots or whatever, or just likes the information. But now you're promoting the book with LVA Paul. You're promoting theft. You're winking your eye at theft. You're not taking it serious. So I'm gonna have to straighten this out.
Very disappointing.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna find out right now.
He recently had 2 microphones off me.
Yeah, didn't you send them microphones?
Yeah, he asked me if I could do international shipping on one of my eBay items, and I was like, no. But I'll just send it you. You're a fellow YouTuber. You can have one. Just pick one and I'll send it you. So he picked one. I'm like, oh, not that one. That's crap. He's like, I really like the look of it. So I was like, okay, fine. So I delisted it along with another one that was decent and sent both of them in the post internationally to him. And then spent about 10 days chasing them non-stop. He's not the only person I've sent microphones to. I sent them to Brian, who turned out to be extremely loyal. I sent him a desk and 2 microphones also. An audio interface desk, that is. I also sent a desk and a microphone to the Adam Meakin. Also turned out to be very loyal. Very glad I did that.
Very loyal.
Street Chronicles got a microphone out of me. As did 007. I'm sure there was someone else, so I sent a microphone for free too. I can't remember. But for a time I was saying, if anybody wants a microphone, just contact me and I'll send it you. And, half a dozen or so, maybe a few more did. Anyway. It just would be nice if somebody who I'd, gone out of my way to support with a nice shiny microphone wasn't supporting something that simultaneously left me financially struggling. I don't mind supplying a piece of equipment to somebody. It's 20 quid to post something internationally. It's not that big a deal. And most of the microphones I bought, I got at exceptional prices. So it's not like I spent a huge amount of money on them. They were designed to make me a profit, but therefore acquired cheap and therefore easy to send out without being of great financial detriment to myself. But being robbed has set me back probably a year, if not 2 years, in terms of the amount of time that I've missed out on income from a book that was produced and then suggested to be held off publication because 2 people offered to help improve it, and then turn that into their material being my material, and then further gaslight the people around them into suggesting that I've nicked from them. You're like, what the fucking hell is the world on? But when you find out that somebody that you've helped is promoting that, you're like, really? What the fuck? That guy that I sent those 2 microphones to is promoting QE's book on his show. Yeah, exactly. Oh, really? How very disappointing. Hey ho, such is life. Even when you're generous to people, it doesn't automatically imply loyalty. Far from it. If anything, 50% of the people I've sent microphones to have turned out to be like the least loyal you could imagine.
Backstabbers. That's what I call them.
I don't know. I reserve judgment. We'll find out. We'll find out Roger Ledwell's side of his story. Maybe he's got a justifiable excuse to promote people who've thieved from me.
I don't know how you justify that. But I'll give him a shot. I sent him a message. What's this crap I hear you promoting stolen material wherever I Paul on your show? Come clean. See, that's the part I don't get. Like, I can understand, like you said, people just come there like they like the information, right? I could somewhat understand that, but I still don't want to hang around with people like that because they got no moral compass. And if they are okay with that, then it'll be okay if something was done to me. So, but now you're promoting the book? Really? As what? Are you promoting it like this is a book that was going to be good, but now it's turned to shit? If you're not saying that, then I don't know, what are you promoting? OVA Paul saying the book is excellent. He's a retard anyway. He's one of those guys that likes to be the intellectual superior, guy in the room.
Whatever. Right, who's around in Discord to chat for a bit? I need to disappear for 2 minutes.
Well, Christian is here.
You guys can hear me.
Christian, so were you there? You seen most of what was going on in Jenna's server, right? I think they banned me and you too, right?
Yeah. I still have 8 hours left. All I did was text what an elevation angle is. Oh, dear Jesus. And girl, you or Berserker, you get butthurt over that. And you guys claiming to be born again Christians. What is there to say?
They claim to be born again Christians, Berserker and Jenna.
Jenna
I didn't know that.
Certainly. Jenna certainly does.
She's got issues with the Bible. How could she be born again Christian? I heard her stories.
Yeah, did you see the last part that
No.
the one deck was attacking her just for saying is she a Glober while she wasn't there, and that you need Jesus. It's really just crap. It really is.
Well, you see what happened. Me and one deck were going off on what's his name, General Jerkoff. Yeah, I was calling him Bucktooth Billy. Come on, Bucktooth Billy. Come on, I want some recreation. Let's hear about that stolen material you published. So I wasn't expecting Flatsy to come and fight his battles, but yeah, I think we hammered him pretty good with Measured Flat, as opposed to his nonsense. Me and one deck had a little tag team going there. But they banned me, so I can't see anything that was written. I was going to read some of it out today, but it's gone.
Yeah, I was timed out. I can still see messages that she put in Berserker, and then you saw me. I put in Master B just constant onslaught of what an elevation is, what a solar altitude angle is. Yeah, and so gently, like, how do you like me now? Yeah, he thinks he's Mr. Tough Guy as well. I mean, they all just think they're Mr. Tough Guys. And get out of here.
You know what bothers me, Christian? When all of this was taking place, she had just started her server. And I went in there. This is when Nathan was trying to, put pressure on them. Maybe they'll release the 5th draft to me, whatever, 4th draft, whatever it was. So I went in the server and I explained to them what was going on. I quickly realized, because the way she was talking, that she's like a female QE. So she was going to have an issue with it. But Berserker was like, well, can't you? Those are two heavyweights in Flat Earth. Can't you just get them to just settle their differences? I'm like, there is no settling of any differences. That's it. Nathan is giving them over 2 weeks to give the material back so he can continue to work on his book, and they refused. Now this is the point we're at. I went in there, I tried to give him a heads up. I told him exactly what was going on. How do you know? Well, I was in every session of the editing process. I was there. Right?
I saw the text that, that it was denied that you were brother.
Oh yeah, he denied that I was at every session. Ain't that funny? I pretty much am sure that I was on every freaking one that was that they made available now. Now, if they were doing some stuff on their own, that's a different story. And he said there was 1,500. That's another thing. When Nathan comes back on, I asked him about that. He claims there was 1,500 hours of work. That is not freaking true. You got to be out of your mind. There is no way there was 1,500 hours put into that. No way.
Yeah, they deluded themselves toward all their effort and what they actually did and what their role was. And the tickling of their ears, it was the beginning, or certainly an effect of it, with Ranty and the stupid ghostwriters crap. It's like, you're delusional. The devil.
You know how many times they came in when everybody finally got together, when Adam and Kiwi got there? You know how many, at least an hour, sometimes an hour and a half will go by with him playing these stupid videos, right? Before we even got to editing the book. There was one time, I'll give you, for instance, how hard it was to get people to work. And, they're doing it as friends and as a favor, and they want to help out, so you really can't push them. Right? So Nathan came in one day and just put the book on the screen and started going to work on it, and then they jumped in. Because I remember saying that to Nathan. That was pretty good. You got to do that more often. Just come right in, slap it on, and start getting busy, and they'll jump in. So Really? 1,500 hours? And Nathan had to use tactics to get used to work sometimes? Come on, man. They're being so dishonest straight across the board in everything they say. There's not an ounce of truth in anything they say.
There's just the part where I'm thinking Jesus when they're just removed, and just like it's brought up at any time when the book's ever brought up, yeah, they're the ones that are gonna have to weasel and justify always that is that Nathan's stolen book? Yeah, we don't have any of that worry. It doesn't matter what they falsely trump up with copyrights or whatever the hell else. Yeah, in your book of fiction, yeah, you stole Nathan's book, and now Nathan is gonna have it straightened out with his book here now. Once it comes out, and we're all gonna get to enjoy it.
Freaking psychopath sending pictures of himself flexing with his buck feet hanging out in his freaking old man boxer drawers. Like, are you serious?
Yeah, I just when I see that in Masturbate, y'all just have me shake my head. It's you have confirmation that's him?
He sent it.
What
He
the?
sent it.
Oh, Lord.
I said to him, I said, listen, I understand why you are the way you are. You're an ugly bastard. I seen a pic of you, man. You're disgustingly ugly. And he goes, what are you hacking my wife's Facebook? I said, no, man. His little birdies come around and drop things off. So then he freaking posted those pictures. But before he did that, he goes, this is getting really creepy, Neil. And then he posted those pictures. I said, nah, that's getting creepy. You freaking kidding me?
Yeah, so it's the same old crap. It's him projection.
Yep.
What he does. And then he wants to turn it about like you name it. We're the creepy ones, we're the bad guys, we're the thieves. When actually at that point it's the mirror. That's you. The introspection, that's you.
Yeah, he's the freaking. He told him, I said, you know what you are? You are what we call white trailer trash. I don't live in a trailer. That doesn't matter. You don't have to live in a trailer to be white trailer trash, you dumb bastard.
Yeah, it's a representation when someone states that about you, that's who you behave as a person. When someone
I'm telling you,
it's not right,
since he's done this deed, he's gotten more and more stupid.
Yeah, it's like someone at first that was presented to us that, full of sharpness, able to put, what was perceived an argument together, and hey, the world's not a glob, to just down the road of foolishness, pride coming before the fall.
That's why I posted that debut of Ballbusters when he moved from it being on Nathan's to him doing it all himself. You see how he was gushing over Nathan. How it wouldn't be possible without them. Betty too. Saying, Nathan, no, you're very important. You showed him how to do all of these things and this, that, and the other thing. And yeah, forgot about that, huh?
Yeah, it's the same old story now. It's like now you want to make up this fantasy position along with the others that you love bombed, as though you're going to be able to rewrite history. And anybody that has any experience with the episodes between your channel and Nathan's channel knows you're full of crap. That's why it's beautiful with the I'll say the Joe Normies that come on to the show. They're like, wait a minute here. Yeah, you're just praying off that they're just going to be dumb. like your normal audience members are just not going to know. Yeah, there's still the ones that you point out, Neil, or I point out that are straddling out the fence or want to still approve of John Stunch's camp. But there are those that are just like, wait a minute, when they come back after a couple months, a few months or whatever, it's like, wait a minute. We're helping Nathan in his book. How the hell is this about Betty in her book and your book? And it doesn't add up. Oh, yeah, because they're full of crap. And like I brought up too, and it's not to take the pee out of him, but yeah, it's just desperation. It's just like it does make me laugh. And Nathan, just stay calm and don't do anything on that part. I just love it when Flatsy or Stunja just keep with caps and stuff. Release the tapes, or at the end of the Home Depot song or whatever.
I did.
The tapes.
I did. Did you see? I released those two that Mikey Nathan played the other day.
Yeah, that's
Mikey
how
had a couple, so I put them up in Jenna's server. I said, listen to these.
Yeah, Nathan doesn't need to go on and on of more and more incriminating recordings. I mean, God forbid he has to go to court, but yeah, he's the one that has you guys calmly by the balls if you want to go there. Just don't go there. You got your piece of crap stolen fiction book. You know, you pushed the copyright through, and we're done with you. Nathan's going to come out with a legit book that disseminates and demonstrates that the Earth is measured flat, and all his experiences here through the 12 years of FED, and it's going to be the book stating how the Earth's measured flat.
Yeah, it's going to be really good too.
Well, that's the thing, because it's going to have its uniqueness. And we brought it up before. It's God, Lord bless my, people do start to have an effect on me. But yeah, it's not going to be not a glob this and not a glob that. And, oh, you know, this is, you know, just about what heliocentrists say. And no, it all goes to leading to flat Earth, and that the Earth is measured flat. And that you need the Earth measured flat even for your glob belief. Yeah, the Earth's flat. It gets right to it. And no other books like that out there. So no matter, Lord bless, how many copies he sells, he can always hold his head up with honor, and that it is blessed. And Lord bless him on that part, which was through 10th. And then humbly us that, yeah, it blesses him financially. But that he can always.
Well, that was the whole point of the book.
Yeah, he can always stand on it. That, yeah, that's his unique work, and it's honorable. I'm being repetitive now, but it's his work. There's nothing for him to look over his shoulder about, or wonder about, or have to justify, or yeah, he can just move forward. These folks will not even be a memory. I mean, it's just like when I brought up Josh Reed in FED versus Earth Chronicles. Yeah, I have to refresh Nathan towards who that was. Is at a point, Nathan or even any of us going to remember these folks with their silly little claims or their silly little supposed debates? No, you at a point you won't even remember these people anymore. You won't even remember how they kept muting you through the supposed debate, and how they didn't know what science is, and how you had to demonstrate what science is, and what they were expecting you to make their claim for them, and how you want to deny what measurements are in a separate category, which is what we stick to, the geometry of Earth. It's like, yeah, you have a moment, and yeah, you remember such things. Like Zanuck saying straight is straight and curve is level. It's just points, you just laugh at them. It's folks like that. It's just like when, yeah, he didn't say a God bless a word when I was in the text chat. You know, negator coming up when I'm at 24/7, because I do enjoy it. I'm thankful for this part. You know, you don't die because the Earth is measured flat, because that's the way God created it, or it's on a plane in which we dwell atop. But yeah, people want to still make believe it's an argument or something to debate, and then you shut them up that the Earth's measured flat, and that there's no debate. Oh yeah, I didn't see any texts from that point, because your little what ifs aren't going to fly. Well, what if we have this situation? What if this fantasy, rhetorical situation? No. Spare me with your relativism and your vague earther crap. The Earth's measured flat. The Earth's flat.
Yeah, they'll learn the hard way.
Yeah, you reap what you sow. And that's the Nathan's point, and he's spot on. There comes a point, Neil, where we shake the dust off of our feet. Lord bless and protect us. If they want to come at us with egregious stuff, then yeah, we're armed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that shit pissed me
You know
off.
what I'm saying? Like,
When they
what I'm
start
saying?
blaming us for freaking hacking whatever and sending
Yeah, things like that.
PDFs to freaking people.
Yeah, accusing us of criminal things, attacking us with criminal things, such as, like in my case, I'm going to die, or that Pope and choke, or you're going to call the landlord. The creepy stalkers that you get, the trolls that Surf Daddy gets. There's a couple that are intertwined. Surf Daddy wants to mention. There's the one I know that's the sock troll, the common sock troll, that even with Len's startup channel, it's like, man, you already got the trolls. Wow. Then there's the ones that want to attack Nathan and his family and his children. It's like, you can get out of here with that crap because you're butthurt. Hashtag extreme. Other than that, we don't care what you do. Lord bless Nathan and us to interact with folks, to have an honest conversation, and to not be butthurt, criminal activity type folks. Yeah. So be it on this channel or the YouTube channel. Yeah, I will. You get immediately removed, and rightfully and humbly so. I'm not going to tolerate you with your butthurt and your criminal activity and your attacks. You want to have an honest conversation? I'm cool with that. Gentle conversation? Yeah. But if you want to be a criminal activity and wind up merchant troll, no, I don't have time for you. Yeah, it's just like silly stuff that they demand even with earthly things. Like I just see now in the text chat about demanding still the same old crap about the heights of the celestial items. Never mind the measurement from the earth. We got to take it to Fantasyland. Grab your fur coat. We're going to Narnia. When I just gave you the measurements, you even gave me the measurements of the earth. You want to just hand wave dismiss that? Let's go to Narnia? No, I'm not going to Narnia with you. The earth's just flat. It's measured.
You just don't realise you can't triangulate to anything that's not attached to the earth. Simple as that.
Yeah, that's how you guys are. You want to stick to that dirty master reference. It means sea level governments.
Hold on, if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959, then the distance. Hold on, I'm driving. Distance, you say? Height, you say?
Horizontal baseline and straight line, you say?
How to wake up my son today? I should have started saying, wake north, wake north, wake north.
Yeah, he needs to wake north before it all goes south. He was saying, if you see me end the call abruptly, yeah, I got things on hand as well. But yeah, to address this part, it's like, don't have time for these folks. Just want to have conversations with y'all or newbies and norms.
Sorry, Neil, cut out.
Go ahead, mate.
No, I'm just saying, I'm sorry, Christian, I didn't mean to be rude. Yeah, my phone just cut out. I was speaking to Neil and I just disappeared, sorry. But yeah, this height of stars nonsense. When has anybody ever triangulated to anything that's not attached to the earth? You can't do it. Got to be attached to the earth. Simple as that.
Yeah, I need the height and distance to Polaris because I'm going to build a lot full of condominiums there. That's, or some other type of nonsense. No, you're just navigating along the sea, or you're building, alongside the mountain, things like practical application, or a descent angle, or pitch altitude for aviation, so you don't crash a plane or any other form of aircraft. Things like that you actually practically apply it. It's just what it is. Like Nathan says, it's like, where's this practically applied? Oh, nothing. Just grab your fur coats, plumb the gas to the lamppost. We're going to Narnia. It's like, no, I'm not going to Narnia. Earth's measured flat, the Earth's flat.
North, side, south. Girl, you turn me.
Yeah. Yeah. Pointing up.
No, upside down. Oh, you turn me.
Yeah, can you do the remix for that one, Dex?
Hold
Yeah,
on,
might be able
before
to,
you
mate.
answer, I'll tell you what. There's one good thing that came out of this. We get to hear more and more from one deck. So I'm wondering, are you being stifled?
What?
We get more out of you. Like, how come you weren't so, I mean, when you had your poems,
I can't hear you, Neil. Sorry, mate.
vocal, and they're coming up with some good stuff, man. Funny shit, too.
Sorry, mate. I didn't. You was breaking up a bit, Neil. Sorry.
He's breaking up, but getting out of more material from
Okay,
you.
so can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, we're getting more material out of you. Exactly. Like before, I guess when other people were on a panel, we would get the poetry and stuff, 30 words. But you had a lot more to offer. Were you being stifled, or you just felt like you just didn't want to try to muscle in, should you say?
I think with the poems just come and go a little bit now. I think when I did the poems, I've got so many put aside, and then I came to a point, I don't know, last year or 2 years ago, I thought it was getting a bit repetitive. A bit much the same set, unless something pops into me. Like the latest one was the sea level poem. So I've not done anything for a long time, but that just sort of popped up. I try not to think, I'm going to write a poem about that. But I used to do that a little bit on the topics in the early days. I was listening to Tenth and Nathan and you guys just in the background. I'd be putting a poem down to try and help me out and other people maybe understand it a little bit simpler. But then I got to a point where I had about 12, 14 poems and thought I could probably pick 8 out of them and just think, well, I've done the poems now. But then we've got the AI now with the music. I love my music anyway. So, and it's fun maybe to put some of the poems into and make them into a song like I did with the sea level. And
well, but besides that, that's your creative ability, which is second to none. But your input into the discussion I'm talking about, we didn't get that much out of you, back then. And I'm wondering, were you feeling like you couldn't like get involved because the people that were? Because I remember that one time you got yelled at.
Yeah, but well, sometimes it was difficult to get in. Even before I came onto the panel in Discord, I sometimes tried to jump in. It was sometimes impossible to get a word in. And like you say, there was a lot of going on, and it's hard to get a word in when Brian was talking anyway. To tell you the truth, you know what I mean? I'm not calling him, but he did chatter on a bit. And like you say, then sometimes, you get shut down for mentioning how level is level and you don't need to talk about anything else. The panel's changed, hasn't it, now? So there's more opportunity to talk, I think. And I think there's less arguing. I mean, it wasn't always arguing. It was ironing disagreements out, wasn't it?
Right. But since I could say that's one good thing that's come out of this whole thing. We get more of one deck.
Well, thank you, Neil.
I mean, that time thing, man. Come on. We have a blast with that time, measuring time.
Yeah. Well, I remember that.
With these distances to the freaking, that stupid argument of if the Earth was a sphere nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at the time, sometimes, like with all of us, things just pop in your head sometimes, don't they? And I've told this a few times. I was saying this to people, thinking, oh my God, when all this was coming about and things were changing a little bit, And I'm telling ballers that, you know, if you ask them the time, I'm telling them they need a flat Earth for that. And it sounds ridiculous. And I even said to Nathan, am I taking it a little bit too far when I'm bringing time into it? And he said, no, you've got time zones, you've got measurements to the sun. That's how sundials work. So these things just pop up, don't you? It's like I'm just saying there about when they go about triangulation to Polaris. I mean, it's a bleeding light in the sky.
I tend
The
to
only thing
answer
you can do.
yes, based on one criteria, and it isn't necessarily because I've heard about specific measurements for the sun for time, right? It's the question I ask myself is this a measurement of Earth? Full stop. Question mark. If it is a measurement of Earth, it will be flat. Now, if it's an extrapolation, a calculation, a derivation, an inference, a logical consistency, then there's a good chance that there might be a route back to an Earth measurement. Then it'll be flat. But if it just is an Earth measurement, then it will only be flat. You'll always find a route back to a flat Earth prerequisite if it's an Earth measurement, full stop.
Yeah, nice one, Nathan.
Right on.
We did it today and the horizon. We've pointed out a few times today, and Nathan mentioned this months ago. You can't describe the horizon without mentioning the surface of Earth. It's utilised and used in celeste navigation with the sea sextant. Yeah. What else? Flight aeroplanes reference the horizon. Yeah, to remain straight and level. So you're referencing the surface of Earth there with the horizon, which is referencing the surface of Earth. So, yeah, everything you look at, everything you talk about is in reference to a horizontal plane we dwell atop.
Yeah, even if you didn't know how an attitude indicator measures our flat Earth, all you have to do is look at that white straight line across the instrument. Yeah, that's the horizontal baseline of our flat Earth that you'll be measuring the pitch and banking angles from.
Exactly.
You don't have to be super genius or
It's from what?
some sort of convoluted mess. Go ahead, Neil.
It's from what?
Oh yeah, that horizontal baseline of our flat Earth. Yeah, it's along Earth. It's along the ground. Yeah, I still remember when Nathan would say that, and it's the same old crap. Anything to just get away from it being along the ground when it's actually just along the ground, measuring the Earth flat.
Yeah. Well, pitch it's a measurement, and then months and months ago we was getting, well, it's a bad argument. Pitch data. It's not an argument. It's a measurement. It's a measurement from horizontal. It's not an argument. We can obtain pitch data. Yeah.
You want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
So somebody says, what did he say? Somebody says, you guys do not back your claims. You just have no argument. I have many arguments, says the chat. Thank you. So isn't that something? So they want us to back the claim of Earth being measured flat. It's not a claim, it's a measurement, but we back it up, right?
And you
Over and over again.
Argue. You hear that part? You want to argue over something that's not arguable or of any contention. You hear that part when people, oh, you don't have an argument, or I bested your argument. It's not an argument. It's a what is in reality of the Earth being measured flat, that the Earth's flat. And I don't have to keep going on and on with examples of measurements. They all are. They all measure the Earth flat.
Yeah, and just because we're mentioning it, and we're referencing surveyors and cartographers, and our pilots operate the the aeroplane and what's it in reference to, the straight level flight. We'd have to back that up. That's what is happening. That's
You can.
sea level is used for all that. Sorry, Nathan.
Well, you can. It's just redundant. So, in the case of an attitude indicator, this is from European Space Agency. An airplane's attitude is measured with respect to the Earth's natural horizon. It describes the aircraft's orientation in space and is composed of three specific measurements. Pitch, the angle between the aeroplane's longitudinal axis, nose to tail, and the horizon. It indicates if the nose is pointing up or down. Roll, that's bank, the angle between the airplane's lateral axis, wingtip to wingtip, and the horizon, and it indicates the aircraft is tilting to the left or right. And finally, yaw, the rotation of the aeroplane around its vertical axis. It's like really basic stuff, but when you're describing an attitude indicator, you're very specifically describing a measurement with directionality that's planar in nature, and it's reference to Earth's horizon. So it's a flat Earth measurement. Not that we didn't know this, we've been looking at pitch data, but the fact that we have pitch data in the first place is a demonstration of the measurement in the first instance. Forget about the actual process of gathering that as a data point on a graph over time, when you can say the measurement itself, pitch, is a flat Earth prerequisite. Don't need to show the data of a flight with its pitch data logged with respect to time. Just say pitch. What's pitch? A flat Earth measurement. That's it. This is the end of the discussion. You don't need to utilise it after whistling past how flat it's being measured. Just point out how flat it's being measured.
Now you're speaking my language, mate. When I would state the PFD and the MFD instruments, the primary flight display and the multi-flight display, you don't have to gather up the 25 hours. I mean, you can, of pitch data and what's all entailed in it and all the degrees and all the distances and the altitudes and everything. But all you have to do is go to that attitude indicator, and it's doing those three basic functions of flight towards pitch, the tilt, the banking angles. And then you can go to a turn of rate coordinator and how it's being aviated in straight and level flight with yaw along the vertical axis to the horizontal plane of our flat Earth. I can get into the rate and the 360 degrees along the parallel datum plane measured from
angle, you say?
Plane. Yeah, exactly, Neil.
Well, that's not his overarching point. Is if you gather up these data points over a period, you can put it on a graph, right? That's black box pitch data. But these measurements in real time are flat Earth prerequisites. So it's not that they're there to be gathered up on a graph. They're there for the scan. That is to say, the pilot is scanning these instruments moment by moment in real time, one after the next, over and over again. Yep. Because in real time, they're measuring Earth's flat surface with respect to the pitch and the yaw of the plane. That's what it is. So an attitude indicator is a real-time flat Earth measurement tool.
Yeah, I don't have to...
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't have to dig out the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder out of the empennage and go through the 24 hours of data necessarily. You can just, as you stated, the real-time instruments aviating the plane that it's measuring and utilizing our flat Earth based on the instrument. But yeah, you'll be measuring the Earth flat with the aviation in real time.
Yeah, especially if you're going especially if you're traveling a distance and you're maintaining 30,000 feet
Exactly.
over 200 miles.
So what Neil's saying is we've got these flat Earth prerequisite altitude and distance measurements. If we can suggest that a flat Earth measurement of pitch, when we look at it on a graph and detail it with respect to a vertical flat Earth perpendicular measurement of altitude and compare it to a horizontal linear distance measurement, we can extrapolate that there is no deviation from horizontal miles at a squared function that exists, demonstrated in the over time graphing of the pitch, which is a flat Earth prerequisite measurement in real time data. You're like, doesn't that seem like a bit fat, sniffy, and elongated when there's 4 flat Earth measurements used to make this assertion? Yeah, yeah. We've got overindulgent fart sniffers who want to make things far more complicated than they need to be. It's like, we've got 4 flat Earth measurements. Just pick one and just point at it. Don't even have to say anything. Just point at it.
That's my point. Yeah. Oh, the tick mark of the banking angle to the straight line. Oh, you're done. Earth measured flat with aviation.
Yeah, I took this and incorporated it into the book and pissed in the face of 9/11 conspiratards. Like, if we're suggested to be muddying the waters of 9/11 truth, why is it that we've got all of these reproduction paths that the alleged planes, whether they exist or not in conspiratorial land, are measured with respect to horizontal distance and descent from sea level at altitude? They've been mapped and plotted, charted and reproduced, CGI generated and represented in videography formats hundreds of times. And they're all flat Earth prerequisites, they're all flat Earth measurements, they're all flat Earth altitudes, and they're all flat Earth descents into the ground. In all respects, every single aspect of this plane's data points that have been mapped, that you can show in demonstrations, whether they're assisting or decrying conspiratorial theories, they're all using flat Earth measurements. So from my perspective, I couldn't give a shit if there were planes on 9/11 or not. The suggestion in topographical data and distance measurement for descent paths shows how flat Earth is measured for all planes without exception, not just these. Doesn't matter which ones you plot. It's just so happening that this particular set of planes has a lot of people scrutinising them and their flat Earth trajectory towards the ground from a flat Earth altitude measured above sea level. So I'm pretty sure I can just point out how flat Earth the prerequisites for the measurements to be acquired and the reproductions with respect to a flat Earth are in CGI terminology when we look at these 2 specific or 3 specific planes. Not that relevant when we've got hundreds of them traversing the flat Earth with respect to their surface level height above it all day, every day. Don't really need them, but given that I'm being accused of muddying the waters of some conspiratard crap, I'll just go straight to the measurement, shall I? Here we go. Lots of people have reproduced this alleged flight trajectory to say it can or cannot exist. But it's still using flat Earth measurements regardless now, isn't it? So who cares? Earth's measured flat in this example, right? It is. Doesn't mean it is flat. Well, why the fuck did you use it that way then? What's that? There's no planes. I couldn't give a shit. You've got flat Earth measurements in your reproduction of the claimed to be series of events that you say is wrong. Or you say is right. But you're all using flat Earth measurements, right? We're all showing descent paths with regards to the planar surface. We're all showing flight levels measured from sea level. Yeah? Yeah, we are. Earth's measured flat.
Well said. Even before that, though, even before the apparent plane situation, I think the approximate height of the towers was around 1,300 feet above sea level.
Yes. Everything about measuring anything in any story whatsoever requires Earth be planar for distance to apply, for height to apply. So that's how we measure Earth. You don't have to like it. If you don't like sea level, you don't like eye level, you don't like surface level, then don't use them. Not that I care. You're not going to be doing anything consequential with it anyway.
So in actuality, we never really even had to get pitch data, right?
Correct. Pitch itself, just pitch, the word pitch, in context, is a flat Earth prerequisite measurement, isn't it? It's a planar description.
Yep.
The orientation for pitch is described planar.
Yeah, you're referring to a pitch as a Earth measurement, and in this specific case, aviation. Yeah, it's going to be our flat Earth.
Yeah, well, it's described with respect to the horizon. That's what it is as a measurement if you're describing it in comparison to Earth. And who does that? Oh, you're not proving it. No, I got that from the European Space Agency. I'm going to round out. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.